Now, for those of you who've been betrayed by a loved one, be warned. Because if you're thinking of taking things into your own hands, it's true my mum always said, don't just stand there, get a shovel, but let's not be too hasty. One thing that we can guarantee at Messrs. Gold and Twist is we'll give it our best shot. My name's Frank Twist, and if you ever have the misfortune to be arrested in England's sunny northwest, there's a fair chance that either me, Sarah Gold, or another of my team of legal advisors will be looking after your interests. And though the law is not known for ruling in favour of the broken-hearted and betrayed, before you get out the bulldozer, the scissors or the shotgun, you might at least give us a go.
Brief Lives by Elizabeth Heery.
Good morning.
Oh, new suit, Frank.
No, I got a text last night saying I have to be at court today, the Hanley case.
Oh, I didn't know it was today. You look like a man who means business.
I never got on with double-breasted.
Talked into it, were you?
Could say that. Think I look all right, then?
Smoking hot.
Just knock it off. Think I might have overdone it a bit with the old chicken tikka masala lately.
They look tight around the waist.
Yeah, this groin area seems to go right
Oh,
up.
too much information. Looks great.
Really?
Not sure about the shoes, though.
What's wrong with them?
Never trust a man in brown shoes.
Right, especially if he's going to give evidence.
This morning, is it?
12. You got your yoga this lunchtime?
Yep.
You wouldn't have to drop me off, would you? I didn't bring the car in. Parking's a nightmare around there.
It's miles out of my way.
Thank you, so I'll have to get the bus.
With the grate unwashed, yes. Wouldn't have thought that would bother you. Got you and Declan a coffee here.
Right. Whoa, careful, careful.
Sorry, Frank, that was close.
So the day hasn't started out bad enough without you trying to pour coffee all over me.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
No, Sarah. I am in no doubt today will turn out to be right up there with Chelsea hammered City 6-0 and Mickey Carragher gambling away the deposit on my flat.
You're only giving evidence. You should take a leaf out of my book. Never touch rape cases.
It's nothing to do with me. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Hey.
Now, there's a man who knows how to cut a dash. That's what I call a suit, Declan. Designer, isn't it?
Watch it, Sarah. Harassment in the workplace.
Oh, for the days.
What's wrong with you, Frank? Face tripping you?
No, I've got to go to court now, that rape case.
Overconfidence of the alpha male. That would be Hanley's downfall.
It's a modern world. We know our place.
Got us by the doolies.
You wish.
Hello? Declan O'Neill? Yeah, that's right. 1 minute, hold on. Just got a bit of a bad signal in here. Yes, Father. Yes, I have all my documents. First Holy Communion, baptismal and confirmation. So, you deal with the marriage certificates, do you?
See in the blue folder anywhere?
Nope.
My notes for court. I am dreading it.
This will be one of those cases where everything hangs on the impression Hanley makes on the jury.
Hey, is that it over there?
No. Like I said, you can tell a lot about a man by his suit, and he can afford the very best.
No, so not forgetting, of course, his old mate Peter, who's acting for him. No doubt he'll turn up in Prada, accessorised with iPhone, iPad and iPlonker.
Where's that suit from, then?
Man About Town. Sophisticar collection.
This season?
Vintage.
Not bad, actually.
Yeah, well, it's a bit uncomfortable, and Hanley is certainly not worth the chafing.
I always find that when I'm giving evidence, I look straight above the jury's head. You should try that, Frank. And remember, there's no harm in smiling.
Ah, there it is.
Address the judge your honour, not you miserable sod, and if they question your judgment, don't lose your temper. Are you listening to me?
Never teach a pig to sing, Sarah. It annoys the pig and it's not very good at it. Oh, that's all I need. Posh Peter offering to pick me up in his cab.
Thought you wanted a lift.
From you, not him.
You could ask Declan to drop you off. Said he's going into town later.
St Anselm's is nowhere near court.
St Anselm's?
Yes, he asked me where Church Walk was earlier and how long it would take to get there.
Is Declan seeing anyone?
Well, if he is, he's kept it quiet.
He's skulking in the corridor talking about marriage certificates. Not said anything to you.
Nope, but then why would he? I'm hardly an advertisement for wedded bliss, am I? I'm the single dad. The old git kicking a football around the park on a Saturday afternoon, bracing myself for... Does your granddad want his ball back? Life's disappointments etched on my face. Onwards and downwards is my family motto. Sorry, how was that funny?
No, I'm sorry. You're lucky, actually. Louis, I mean. The rest of it doesn't matter much, does it?
Go easy on Declan, won't you? Whatever he's up to, he obviously doesn't want us to know about it. Wait a minute. You're not disappointed that he might be...
Taken?
...seeing someone behind our backs?
Declan?
He's a good-looking boy.
Yeah. He is both of those things. Good-looking and a boy.
Thank you for coming, Frank. I know it's really inconvenient for you. Bit of a bore.
If Marcus Hanley, beloved by ladies up and down the East Lancs Road, hadn't been in that club the same night as me and my mate Mickey, I could be at the office watching High Noon enjoying a Sultan's platter.
Ridiculous it's got this far.
You mean, unfortunately for him, he didn't manage to charm the girl and talk her into dropping charges this time around?
Frank?
It's Hanley's girlfriend I feel sorry for.
Fiancé. They're supposed to be getting married in 3 weeks.
Oh, how romantic. She convinced herself it was just a one-off with this other girl he picked up, has she?
Hardly a reliable complainant. Missed June 2008, Chucking Weekly.
She might be a model, Peter, but that doesn't mean to say she's making it up.
Not just a model. She has a degree in travel and tourism.
Seemed a perfectly nice girl to me from what I saw of her at the bar.
The important thing was you saw them together and she seemed more than happy to be there. This rape allegation came from nowhere.
Poor Marcus. This must be a right pain for him. Caught. Had to put off his long weekend with his hedge fund pals, did he? Oh, sorry, I forgot you two mates, aren't you? Holiday together this year. Much snow in Gstaad.
No, as it happens. Look, if it means anything, we both appreciate that you're here. Hope to return the favour someday.
I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine.
Why not? I expect you've heard on the grapevine some of my recent triumphs. Judge Reynolds said I gave the best, most incisive...
Peter, mate, I'm here because I was caught, which means I've got no choice, so let's not stand on ceremony. Have you got me expenses?
Here. Now you way. Best suit. Good, shoes. At least put a smile on your face.
What's wrong with the shoes?
Nothing.
Oh, blimey. Who do you know can afford to live here?
Hello.
Hello, Aisha. Have you met Frank Twist? Aisha's giving evidence later.
Oh, hello. You too. Looking forward to it.
Oh, dreading it. My words come out all wrong when I'm nervous.
Your Honour, it wasn't me robbing the bank. It was just an optical conclusion. Oh, no. Here he comes.
Hello, Mr. Twist. Delighted to see you again.
You might have warned me, Peter.
Impressive suit, Frank. Bespoke.
Leave off. I like to stay in touch with the common man.
Grammar school boy myself. My grandmother ran a chippy on Clapham High Street.
Oh, and I lived in a shoebox in the middle of Tip
Come
Road.
on, Frank. Everything I have, I acquired through sheer hard work and determination.
Not to mention a brilliant brain, Marcus. Can't buy a double first from Oxford.
Sincerely, I'm sorry to have to drag you out here, Frank. Sure you have better things to do with your time.
Oh, well, you know, Marcus, if you hadn't engaged that brilliant brain in the first place, I suspect you wouldn't be in this mess.
How were the shirts, Peter?
Fantastic, thanks. Marcus has kitted out my boys' football team in a new strip frag. Very generous.
Glad to help. Invested in a nice little side business that designs sportswear. You've got a boy, haven't you, Frank? Any good at football?
He's only 5.
Can't start too early.
Your Hugo's got a trial for City, hasn't he, Peter?
United, actually.
Wouldn't you know it?
Bring your lad along to the under-10s, Frank.
Might be tricky, you know, alternate weekends. Still, I tell you what, he's showing a real talent for Lego at the moment. He could have a great future.
Declan, you want a lift?
No.
Where is it you're going again? Frank said you were asking for directions earlier.
Oh, right. Yes, for St. Anselm's. I shouldn't be long. Is that all right?
Yeah, of course, if it's important.
Personal stuff.
You're Catholic, then?
That's not something to bang on about.
No, sorry, didn't mean to pry. Wouldn't have put you down as religious.
Well, you know what to say. Once a Catholic. Same with your lot, isn't it?
Same neuroses, different rule book.
Right, I'll be off then.
No, wait, let me give you a lift. I'm going that way.
Before we start, can we just get one thing clear? Frank, I didn't do it.
It's the jury you got to convince, not me.
Okay, chaps, we don't have much time. Last thing I want to do is teach grandmother to suck eggs, Frank. You're professional enough to know what you're doing out there.
Yes, Peter, I am.
But we have to be clear what we're saying to the jury, so if you don't mind...
One moment, Peter. If I raped her, Frank, why did she switch off her phone whilst I was doing it to her? I fetched an extra pillow so she was comfortable, flossed my teeth.
Positively metrosexual.
She gave me her telephone number after, kissed me as I put her into the cab. I called for her.
Quite the gentleman.
You saw us together.
For what it's worth, Frank, if Miss Wilson's boyfriend, Metal Mickey...
Mental Mickey. Bit of respect, Peter. He's worked hard for that title.
If Mental Mickey hadn't found out she'd gone back to Marcus's, we probably wouldn't be here.
I know the drill. Say what you saw.
Good. Let's move on. No point is arguing the toss behind closed doors over what happened on the night in question.
No.
That's for the judge and jury. Now, their barrister will no doubt try to undermine you.
Where's this going?
You witnessed Marcus and the complainant together at the club, yes?
That's why I'm here, aren't I?
Frank, could you be a little less grouchy? It's not going to look good. Just tell the jury that you saw Marcus and Miss Wilson together. They looked happy.
Love's young dream.
He bought her a drink. She accepted it. She was smiling, which perhaps you might try.
Not on these expenses.
Juries don't respond well to people...
Miserable old gits. Oh, stuff this for a ride on the Bobby horses, Peter. I'll see you in there.
Frank, we have a battle on here. The rather uncomfortable matter of the bruising on the girl's arms and leg isn't going to help us.
And that energetic sex line is becoming a bit overused, in my opinion.
Always frightened me.
What?
Churches. Those gargoyles. Their faces. Look at that one sticking its tongue out at us.
Same principle as the law. Fear meant to instill some sort of respect.
Oh, hello. Is that your man?
Oh, yep. Father Kearney. See you later, sir.
Okay.
Thanks for the laugh.
Oh, it's the Angelus. You can't hear yourself think, but Sister Benigna insists upon it. My chaplain, he lent me this iPod to block out the sound of the incessant ringing, but sure Daniel O'Donnell sings Jim Reeves. Well, it's not my cup of tea at all. Now, come on, I'll take you round the presbytery. Come on.
Let's go through this one more time, Frank.
No, let's not. Now, if you don't mind, I need an injection of coffee. You need a tray, and the queue's back there.
It's a mile long.
You see, chicken casserole and lasagna should be queuing up separately to tea and coffee. There's just no system.
No.
If you just want a sandwich, I'd grab one and jump up to the front. The girl on the till's doing nothing anyway.
Couldn't eat a thing. Too nervous.
You'll be fine. It helps to think of them as human, so just picture them naked. No, maybe not. Judge Reynolds and the Altogether's enough to render anyone speechless.
Any tips then?
Just be yourself, and oh yes, tell the truth. You looking forward to the wedding?
Yes.
Costs a fortune these days. You got your dress?
Not yet. Not sure what's going to happen. I mean, whether Marcus will be able to...
What, be there? Sorry.
Yeah, still. One way of getting out of the nightmare of seating plans. If he's in prison. Oh, the last few months have been awful.
I'll try my best for you. Oh, at last. I'll have a coffee, please.
I'll have a tea, no milk.
Do you mind, Peter? Just don't jump the queue. This young lady was before you.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Thanks, Aisha. And a tea for me, please.
Aisha, look, someone's waving at you. That woman there, sitting with the police officer.
Where?
That's our complainant. Do you know her, Aisha?
Excuse me, I just have to... I'll be back in a minute. I'm so sorry.
What?
The ladies, sorry.
Oh. Now then, Mr. O'Neill, did Peggy offer you a wee drink or a biscuit?
Yes, bottom grand.
Right. Now, I'm going to ask you a number of questions now, some of which you may not know the answers to, and some you may. But you must answer as honestly as you can.
Yes, Father.
Well, let's get started. I expect you're a busy man. Now, place your hand on the Bible and repeat after me.
The Bible?
Well, you'd be used to that, I suppose. You're a lawyer, aren't you?
Sort of, yes.
Here we are, then. Now, it won't bite, Mr. O'Neill. There you are. I, Declan O'Neill, promise and swear, having my hand on the Holy Gospels...
I, Declan O'Neill, promise and swear, having my hand on the Holy Gospel.
Let go of me! You're not making this any easier, miss. Are you Aisha Safira?
What's this about?
Aisha Safira, I'm arresting you on suspicion of attempting to pervert the course of justice. Anything you say may be taken down in evidence and used against you. Let go! Now, either you come quietly, or I'll get one of my colleagues to forcibly escort you to the van.
You're arresting her? What for?
How many officers have you brought with you?
Leave me to do my job, and I'll leave you to do yours.
She's my witness. You can't do that.
Yes, I can.
The jury are in here. They're seeing this.
Twist is right.
Mr. Rush Watson, help me. I really don't want to cuff you, Miss Safira. Please, Mr. Twist. Okay, you've left me no choice. Oh, God. Constable, get the cuffs on her. Oh, no!
Which station are you taking her to?
Piccadilly. Oh, get off me.
What's going on, Peter?
Don't ask me.
You do know what this means, don't you? Arresting a key witness mid-trial, played out in front of the jury. Hanley will walk.
So how long have you known Rodney O'Halloran?
We were altar boys. Cross McGlen, St. Silly's, St. Sylvester's. I was 7 when we met, so what's that, 19 years?
Yes. And Bridget Cleary?
They met when they were in 6th form at Holy Family. I was a couple of years younger than them.
Uh-huh. And how old were Bridget Cleary and Rodney O'Halloran when they decided to marry?
20. Bridget was a great girl, but she was more interested in a career than settling down. Wanted to get to London.
Was this something either of them said to you at the time?
Not exactly.
What exactly?
But it's difficult to remember, Father. It's a wee while ago now. But there was just this feeling, you know, she kind of wanted something more, you know, to get away.
Uh-huh.
I mean, now everyone's flying across the water, but back then there was still money, you know. But Bridget, she couldn't stand still for 2 minutes.
And the relationship with their families, brothers and sisters, Rodney O'Halloran's was a happy home, was it?
Oh, sorry, Father. I thought I'd switched that off. How long will this take?
Well, I've known these matters to take a very long time. If the judges decide they have to send the papers to Rome, and then sometimes to the defender of the bond. Well, it could take a decade.
A decade? Actually, I meant today. I should be back in the office already.
Nearly done.
I had no idea this was so thorough.
An annulment is a very serious matter.
Oh, absolutely. It's just a little complicated.
Well, canon law, I'm afraid. Those are the rules. Well, sure, you must encounter the same difficulties in your line of work, Mr. O'Neill, do you not?
What's going on?
Follow that van.
Oh, don't be ridiculous.
I need your help.
What's happened?
They've nicked the rapist's fiancée.
What for?
Not exactly sure.
What?
They've taken her to Piccadilly. Go on. Let's go down there, find her.
No.
Oh, come on.
Oh, OK. As I happen to be passing, I'll drop you off, but I'm not having anything to do with this. You can do it, but I'm not.
I can't, can I? I'm a
Let
witness.
someone else sort it out, then. What about Declan?
I just texted him, but I've had no reply. Go on, get a move on. Step on the gas.
Frank, I think you're mistaking me with Steve McQueen. This is not a remake of Bullet. I'm not doing it. Why should I?
Come on, Sarah, sisterhood and all that.
As you very well know, I will not get involved in any case where a man is accused of violence against a woman.
This is not Aisha's fault, whatever Hanley has done.
No rape
You
cases.
can only go on the title, perverting the course of justice, this one.
I don't want anything to do with it.
Don't make me beg, please.
I'll only cover it if Declan agrees to take over the minute he's out of his meeting.
Well, that's settled then. He says he'll be with you as soon as he can.
And because it's not strictly a rape case.
Good girl, you don't need me then. Go on, let me out. Got to get back to court.
You are impossible. And by the way, the number 43 takes you right outside.
I am mindful of Margaret Thatcher, Sarah, and as you expect, I'm not a great fan, but she did say one thing that I hold dear. A man beyond the age of 26 who finds himself on a bus can count himself a failure. Expenses run to account.
No!
I think you'll find they do. Well, that is a stroke of luck. Taxi!
Well, now. So that wasn't too bad now, was it? Come on, I'll see you out, Mr. O'Neill.
Oh, thank you.
Tell me, how is Rodney?
You know him?
No, but sure, we heard of him back in Belfast, you know?
Oh, he's been a good friend.
Been tough lately with the crash. Property, not a good business to be in. Now, when did you last go to the west?
What, you mean the ghost towns?
Uh-huh. An icy wind whistling through those streets, all right. I heard there's some desperate fellas back there. Apart from your man O'Halloran, millionaire 10 times over, not long out of short trousers. Not right.
True enough. He invested well. Saw what was coming. He got out before the rest of them were fighting over the life rafts.
Mind you, he could twist anyone's arm, that one, eh?
He's not a bad fella. Tell you what, me and him had a good crack, all right.
You know, you wouldn't be the first to do it, Declan. Let me swear on the Bible and look the other way. It's not a sin. Wanting to walk his new wife down the aisle. Well, God bless you, Declan.
Goodbye, Father.
There's the disclosure sheet.
She's meant to have what? Impersonated a rape crisis counsellor?
My opinion is that your client, Aisha Safira, was trying to get to our victim. Miss Wilson is adamant that Safira came to her saying she was a rape crisis counsellor.
And what's my client said?
Nothing yet. Though it's obvious Hanley's persuaded her to do it.
Why did I agree to do this?
What's happening, Peter?
Find out in a minute.
Wish they'd hurry up.
Down to Judge Reynolds, who's not a happy bunny now he knows that the jury has seen one of the witnesses being arrested.
Don't you worry, Marcus. You'll be fine. The worst they can do is start again.
Oh, no.
But it's my guess that the other side will drop it.
Really?
Yes, really.
I think Frank's probably right. This might call for a celebration. How about if I book the director's box at United next Saturday?
Bring your boy, Frank.
He can watch Hugo play in the morning at the United training ground. We can all go down together to Old Trafford in the afternoon.
I don't think so. Besides, Louis and I've got an appointment with some ducks. But you go ahead, though.
Champagne on ice. Do hope you'll change your mind, Frank.
When can I go?
You can't. Sit down. Sit down. Tell me what happened. Everything we say in here is totally confidential.
I don't know anything about this.
Is there an identification problem here?
Yes.
Because you aren't a rape counsellor, are you?
Of course not.
Do you know Miss Wilson, the so-called rape victim?
No.
The police are saying you telephoned Miss Wilson on her mobile and arranged to meet her.
Not true.
They say you and your fiancé are in it together. Mollison is saying Marcus gave you the phone number.
No.
Now, before you answer my next question, don't say anything until you're absolutely sure, because what you say to me, you're stuck with.
Yes.
Remember, I can give you all the advice I can, but it's up to you if you take it. But it's not going to be me going to prison.
Prison?
It's a serious case, Aisha. Now, the police are about to interview you. We have to decide what we're going to say.
Innocent.
So, from that I understand you didn't meet her at the King's Arms.
No. I just told you. The slut wants to ruin my marriage, just like the police.
Why would they do that?
Oh, they're jealous of Marcus. Everyone is. They handcuffed me. Those cuffs. With the metal bars, they hurt.
Did you approach the witness at any time?
No.
Did you try and get her to change the evidence?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Perverting the course of justice is a very serious
I
crime.
didn't do it. It might seem like I'd want to speak to this woman to try and find out what happened with my fiancé, but the fact is, I didn't.
I'm trying to put myself in your position. I mean, if the man I was going to marry had been accused of being a rapist, I might want to find out the truth.
I love him.
Doesn't mean he's not a rapist.
And he loves me.
Aisha, the one thing I still don't understand. I know you say they're lying, but if what the police are saying is right, that you spoke to the witness...
It wasn't.
But if it was, then you are taking a huge risk that she might have recognised you at court today.
How would she recognise me? She's never seen me before.
So, she's making it up.
Or confusing me with someone else.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, you think they'd have supposed rape victims in some back room, not queuing up for coffee with everyone else? I mean, what's the point of screens in court?
So she doesn't have to see her alleged rapist. It's too upsetting. You didn't expect to see her today, did you?
Mistaken identity.
Yeah, you're very striking, Aisha. Waist-length hair, 5'10", 11.
Only in heels.
The police will have access to your phone records. They've got your phone now. If you didn't phone her, if this never happened, you have nothing to worry about. But if her number is on your mobile...
It isn't.
Aisha, they're saying you did it to get the girl to withdraw her accusation. They say you went there to set the heavies on her, to threaten her.
It's not the first time Marcus has been unfaithful to me. And it's true. Sometimes I look at him and I don't believe a word he's saying. Not a single word. But if I allow myself to...
To what? Look the other way? Entertain the possibility that he might be lying about this? When you're about to give up the rest of your life for him? Here. Here. We're going with no comment.
Where's the constable?
What's happened?
The rape trial's been adjourned.
No! Are you all right, Aisha? Officer Mollison, can I have a private word with my client, please?
Of course, Repton v. Carlos was the classic.
Peter, fascinating as this
So
is.
sorry you can't make Saturday, but there's a testimonial or charity dinner every few months for some retired player or other. If I have a spare ticket, I'll give you a ring. Those black tie dues are a riot.
Great.
Marvellous.
Except, no, wait a minute. Did you say black tie? Oh, now that is a shame. I'm going to have to say no. Smart casual I can do, but I don't think my wardrobe would stretch to that.
I'll lend you a DJ if you want.
Please, Peter, we're completely different sizes.
What about if I get my tailor?
Have you had any exciting cases lately?
Well, now, there was...
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that's a number 43 outside. If I'm wrong, I might just make it.
Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Do you understand?
Yes, officer. But before you begin, I'd like to read a brief statement on behalf of my client.
Of course.
I, Aisha Safira, have never met Miss Wilson. I do not wish to answer any questions in this interview.
As expected. Short and to the point. Any more you'd like to add, Aisha?
No.
Even though you were identified by Miss Wilson?
No comment.
Bit of a coincidence, wouldn't you say? Miss Wilson recognising you like that? You being so striking? Expect you don't usually go unnoticed.
No comment.
There was no way you could have got a phone number unless you either stole it or Hanley gave it to you.
No comment.
All gone a bit pear-shaped for you, hasn't it? You were looking forward to that wedding. Must have been gutted, seeing it all fall to bits.
No comment.
You knew he took women back to his flat. Your fiancé. He said that in his statement.
All right, come on, not relevant.
No comment.
You must love him a lot.
That's got nothing to do with you.
Aisha.
I mean, no comment.
Aisha, Miss Gold is here to give you advice. Who's to say if it's the right advice?
Officer.
Not easy for a man to talk about his one-night stand in court in front of his girlfriend.
Fiancé?
How many others has he promised the earth to? Told them they love more than anyone else in the world.
What are you talking about?
He's not faithful.
I love him. I bet you wish you were me, don't you?
Has he?
Ladies.
Why are you protecting him? What really happened, Aisha?
Right, I'd like a consultation with my client.
Interview suspended. I'll wait outside.
Just try and answer no comment. I know it's difficult when they say things that upset you.
Yes.
Especially when it's happened before.
Marcus being unfaithful, you mean?
No. 5 years ago, he was charged with rape. You knew that, didn't you?
Of course.
And even though he was found not guilty...
When can you get me back to court? I have to give evidence.
No.
What?
Text from Frank. Prosecution have withdrawn the charges. Trial abandoned.
Abandoned?
It's over. Marcus Hanley is off the hook. Shouldn't you be celebrating? I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to find out what's going on.
Got here as quick as I could.
You spoke to Frank?
Hanley had them eaten out of his hand, apparently. There was the awkward matter of Miss Wilson being 3 times over the limit and coked out of her head. But the reason the judge chucked it out was because the jury saw Aisha being arrested.
Oh, wow, no wonder Mollison's furious. She needed those points. No retrial?
Not a chance. Well, our client should be pleased.
That's just it. I don't think she is.
What do you mean?
I might be wrong, but she seems troubled.
Oh, she'll be out of here in half an hour with only the table decorations to worry about.
Oh, of course. He's never told her about the other time.
Miss Gold?
Yeah?
I'm bailing her for now, but I'm going to the Crown Prosecution Service.
You mean he walks and she could still go to prison?
With any luck. I need to do the paperwork. If you go and wait at the front desk, I'll call you when I'm ready.
You do realise she nobbled that rape complainant?
Is there such a crime as impersonating a rape crisis counsellor?
No. And with the case against Hanley going sideways, it's most likely to be no further action.
Well, even if she met her, she wasn't necessarily getting Miss Trucking Weekly to change her evidence, was she?
No, just to find out if he did it, I suspect. Have you ever been cheated on?
Once.
Well, when it comes to men, I'm hardwired for disillusionment. But if I had the chance, I'd want to know if my fiancé was a rapist. Oh, don't forget, Mollison is also guilty of tampering with a witness because of arresting Aisha mid-proceedings and perverting the course of justice.
If they pursue Aisha, then we should pursue her for the same offence.
She wouldn't like that.
I tell you, by the time I finish with Mollison, she'd wish she'd left well alone. It'll never get to court.
I'm still not sure I believe Aisha when she said that she knew about Hanny's previous. But why wouldn't she speak for herself? She's a confident, intelligent woman.
Because when it comes to relationships, it's messy and complicated. Who knows what happens when we fall in love with someone? Reason has nothing to do with it.
Can I ask you something, Declan? Not about the case, about you. Well, you don't have to answer if I'm being too nosy, but, you know, when you went to see that priest, have you,
What?
well, met someone?
No. What makes you think that? Oh, I see. I see. That's what all that was about earlier, then. I bet you heard me talking about the marriage certificates.
Yeah, and then going to see that priest.
I have a friend who I'm doing a favour for. Someone I know. We were altar boys together. What? What?
You.
I was a very good altar boy, thank you very much. My thurible swinging was second to none.
I'll bet it was.
Anyway, this person is getting married.
I wish them well.
But he's been married before. And his new wife, she wants the works.
What's the problem?
Well, in a Catholic church.
Ah.
So they're after an annulment, and he's asked me to testify that his first marriage was a discretion of judgment.
A what?
Well, if they never had children, or rather, she never intended to, then it means the marriage never happened.
And what does the poor ex-wife feel about this marriage that never existed?
Never existed in the eyes of God. Not when it comes to canon law.
No wonder you didn't want to tell me about it. I thought you were supposed to be on the side of truth and justice.
Sure.
You should have nothing to do with it.
It's not like that.
Looks the same from where I'm standing.
Oh, what? And that's not what we do every day? Present our version of events, outmaneuver the law to get someone out of a sticky situation?
But it's not right. All because this new wife wants that sticky-out dress and the incense and Jerusalem.
That's a Protestant hymn.
Sue me, I'm Jewish. Just don't understand why anyone would put themselves through that. Right, better get to the front office. Oh, what's he doing here?
Who?
Marcus Hanley, that's all Aisha needs.
You must be Miss Gold. Good news. Can't thank your team enough, seriously. Fantastic result.
Nothing to do with us.
How's Aisha bearing up?
She's fine.
Been to hell and back. All because of that lying little minx. Could you tell Aisha I'll be outside in my car when she comes up? Thanks again. Terrific job.
Pleasure's all mine.
Better be off then.
Don't forget your bail sheet, Declan.
Oh, thanks. The crime of rape is not the act of having sex, but the perception of it. That's what they say, isn't it? Perception. Awful lot hanging in that wee word.
I'm not so sure about that.
I'll see you later.
Okay. Thanks, Sergeant.
Right, let's go.
Hello, Aisha.
Can I go now?
Yes, but before you do, I want you to meet my colleague Declan. He'll come back here with you on your bail date.
Need a man to get the job done.
You go home and have a night with your fiancé. There's a meal for two offer at the new supermarket on the high street.
What?
He's waiting for you in his car outside. Aisha, that's the wrong way.
You're coming with me. Why not? Get over yourself, Aisha. It was one night where things got a little out of hand, but that's all.
And how many others were there, hey?
Don't start.
Look, why did you never tell me?
What about?
That this wasn't the first time you'd been charged with rape.
Why do you think? Because you'd go off on one and I was right.
Marcus, it's over this time. Goodbye.
I've done nothing wrong. What have I done? I love you. Come with me.
Right, leave her alone.
Forgive me, sweetheart, but this has nothing to do with you. Move out of my way. Come on, Aisha.
Aisha's my client.
Is she? She said you didn't want anything to do with her, Aisha. Don't let me tell you again.
Aisha, get in my car. Now. Come on. He's going.
Is he?
Look, all right, cases like this, I didn't want to get involved.
Why?
Because I'm a woman.
What do you mean?
Well, women are brought up to believe we're equal, if not better than any man, and about time, too. We waited long enough. Tissue?
Thanks.
Yet, despite that, all my favourite fairy tales as a kid ended with a knight on a white charger coming over the hill, which makes things difficult.
And sometimes awful.
But this is different.
How?
I like you, and you're not telling me something, and I think I can help you.
No.
You went to see that girl, didn't you?
I was this close to calling the police.
It's all right. I don't need to hear any more. I'm not going to take it any further, but Aisha, don't you get it? If you let Hanley treat you like this, men like him think they can treat all women the same way.
That's not it.
I know, it's easy for me to say. Who knows what I'd have done in your position,
Marcus raped me.
What?
At first I wasn't sure. He picked me up in a bar, took me back to his. The sex, it was rough, and I was in pain. I asked him to stop, but he wouldn't. I fell against a metal chair, gashed my arm on the corner. But he said he was sorry, and kissed me. And they said the moment he set eyes on me, I was the woman he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. He told me I was beautiful.
Oh, Aisha.
And then he asked for my number.
You gave it to him?
He said he loved me. To the moon and back. And I forgot about the pain. I could hardly walk, but he persuaded me that what I thought was him forcing himself onto me was passion. And if he ignored me when I asked him to stop, it's only because he wanted me so much.
You mean you persuaded yourself?
I suppose. But he's never done it again. With me, never.
He isn't a man, he's an animal.
Low self-esteem, they call it. That's what someone said to me recently. Another woman who a man said he loved to the moon and back.
Who was that?
I think you can guess. But you know what the most shocking thing is? That despite this, it wasn't until you told me that he'd been charged with rape 5 years ago that I finally realised I'd been lying to myself all this time.
Oh, you poor thing.
No. I want to thank you for that.
Why did it take so long?
I loved him.
I see. Not anymore, though.
If only it were that easy.
So why were you so anxious to give evidence, even after I told you about the rape charge? Why would you want to help Hanley?
Help him? I suddenly had this ridiculous idea that I wanted to give evidence to send Marcus to prison. I was going to tell the court what happened, just like what happened to that other girl.
It's not too late.
No, I'm not going to the police.
Why not?
After what happened to that girl in court and seeing Marcus go free.
You're not going to marry him, are you?
No. No, it's over between us.
So don't let him get away with it.
How many times do rapists get convicted?
Not often enough. Look, come on, Aisha, let's go to the police. Tell them you'll testify that Hanley raped you. We can do it this time.
Bye, Sarah. I'm sorry. But you're going to have to wage a war against men on your own on this one.
If you change your mind, call me. Please.
It's Declan, Father.
Ah, so it is. How can I help you, Declan?
Well, if we had a confessional box, it'd be easier, but I wanted to do this face to face.
Mm-hmm.
I lied to you. Well, not a big lie, but a little bending of the truth.
Well, no, you wouldn't be the first.
No, but here's the thing. I didn't exactly lie, but I spoke around the truth. I can only say what I know.
Which was what?
That Bridget loved Roddy, and he loved her. And they did want kids, but she couldn't have them, and that's why he left her. And here, this new woman, I never even met her. But just because I'm a lawyer, when you say, how long have you known her, and I answer, they've been together 2 years, you assume I know her. But it doesn't mean I'm telling the truth.
I see. But you know, we're not in the business of blame, Declan.
Yes, but who am I to say what either Roddy or Bridget actually felt when they stood in front of that altar? I haven't a clue.
So why did you agree to be part of this annulment in the first place?
Because Roddy asked me. Look, you were right. Back home he's a powerful man, and powerful men need lawyers.
But you couldn't quite go through with it. Sure, we all struggle, Declan. Even us priests.
I'm a lawyer. It's what I do. That's why this annulment troubles me, because I'm an expert now. I got clever. But, Father, if there was no law, if there was just a A man and a woman in a room. Shouldn't that be our moral compass? The truth?
Huh. Well, now, wouldn't that be grand?
The truth does not cease to exist because it is ignored.
Aldous Huxley. Very good, Declan. Well, you're a brave man to say no to Roddy O'Halloran, from what I've heard. But in the end, we only have God to answer to.
Ah, Rod's all mouth. Singing, Father. Beautiful. Gets me every time.
Nothing I could say to her. As usual, the problem is she loves her man.
Not a problem. And we're not all like Marcus Hanley.
No.
Don't be too hard on yourself. It was a good day for the defence. Your girl walks, and Hanley got off. Brown shoes notwithstanding. It's just a job, Sarah.
Not always. Can I ask you a question?
What?
Do you think I'm a man-hater?
Not at all. A fat Doug McGregor hater, a traffic warden hater, a small bitey dog hater.
Sometimes I wonder if it's not women who are the hardest on women, don't you? What happened to sisterhood, eh?
You're asking an unreconstructed male chauvinist pig like me?
If it makes you feel any better, I suspect there's an awful lot of women out there still holding out hope for a knight on a white charger to appear over the brow of the hill.
And would you be one of them?
2 coffees. Thanks. Sorry,
That's just great. That's all over my shoes.
You barely noticed.
She might have a point about women. When it comes to defending in a rape case, we always hope the majority of the jury are female. I try to be open-minded. My curmudgeonly manner has no gender discrimination. As a general rule, I hate the whole flaming lot of them. Some days, though, I love the world. May surprise you to hear, but I'm a sentimental old sod at times. Glad to be alive. Even getting to enjoy the 43 bus. Been doing more of that lately, and it's not half bad. Maggie Thatcher was wrong. As for Sarah, she's the type who wants to do what's best, which is why I've got a good feeling about her. Who knows when her knight on a white charger will come over the hill? Perhaps he'll be on the 43 bus. Anyway, yes, I think this is going to be her year. And I'm not usually wrong about things like that.
In Brief Lives, Frank was played by David Schofield, Sarah by Catherine Hunt, and Declan by John Joe O'Neill. Peter was played by Stephen Pinder, Aisha by Balvinda Sopal, Father Kearney by Charles Lawson, Marcus Hanley by Anthony James Anthony, and W.P.C. Mollison by Lisa Moore. Brief Lives was written by Elizabeth Heery and was produced in Manchester by Gary Brown.
Roger that, Mike November Tango. Your code 41 acknowledged.
P Division, code 41. P Division, code 41.
The Good Thief by Donald Campbell, based on characters created by Peter Turnbull. Good Thief.
Margie? Margie?
Annabelle? Are you all right?
Yes, Mr. Weir, I'm fine. Did you hear that?
Yes. A shot, was it? Sounded like gunfire. Annabelle, be careful.
Margie? Margie, are you there? Oh.
Annabelle!
Margie? Margie?
Evening, sir. Sorry to drag you away from your meeting.
That's all right, Ray. The Architectural Society was a bit of a washout, frankly. The guest speaker sent most of the members to sleep. Anyway, what have we got here?
Marjorie Mellor, sir. I take it you know who she is.
Oh, yes. Television personality. Celebrity, just what we needed.
Doesn't get any better, I'm afraid, sir. Miss Mellors was sharing this flat with Gregor Stoddart.
The MP?
That's right, sir. He's in London just now, but we've made arrangements for him to be informed.
Well, we'll be seeing him tomorrow, then.
Aye. We're going to get a lot of press attention on this one, sir.
Oh, tell me about it. Anyway, what happened?
Well, the report came in at 9:02. Annabelle Niven, she's Miss Mellor's neighbour and also her business partner, I believe. Heard the shots and found the body.
Any other witnesses?
The downstairs neighbour, Mr. Weir, heard the shots too. We're getting statements from both of them now.
She was my friend, you see. Not just my business partner. Margie was my friend.
Yes, I know. But it really is most important that you tell me everything you can remember. We could leave it till later,
Oh,
but...
no. I'd rather get it over with, please.
That would be best.
Well, I'd just taken a bath and I was making myself some chocolate. And I heard this noise. 3 sharp reports. Bang, bang, bang. Coming from the upstairs landing.
Yes.
I mean, the last thing I thought of was gunshots. I thought somebody was trying to break Margie's door down. I didn't know she was in, you see.
And after you heard the shots, what did you do?
I went out to investigate, of course. Just before I reached the door, though, I heard some steps running down the stair.
Steps? What kind of steps?
Just ordinary steps. A man's steps. Definitely a man's. Moving very quickly like the postman does when he's finished his deliveries and he's leaving the stair.
I see. And what then?
Well, I went upstairs to Margie's flat. The door was wide open and I was sure that what I heard must have been somebody breaking in. Mr. Weir downstairs, he'd come out of his flat by this time, so I turned and shouted at him to call the police. Then...
No, steady now, steady. Take your time.
I found Margie, and I went back out onto the stair and shouted to Mr. Weir to call an ambulance. But then, of course, it was too late. Oh, I never thought. I didn't think she was in, you see. I was sure she wasn't in.
What makes you say that, Miss Niven?
Well, I was expecting her here, of course. When Gregor's not at home, she always pops in on her way up for a glass of wine and a chat, you know.
Gregor, that's a boyfriend?
That's right, Gregor Stoddart, the MP. Of course, he's at Westminster during the week.
I see. Well, that's about it for now. Except, you don't happen to know anything about your friend's movements tonight, do you?
Yes, I do. I can tell you exactly. She left the office at 5 for a meeting with her publisher. After that, she'd arranged to have a drink with Joyce at the Glasgow Bistro.
Joyce?
Joyce Stoddart, Gregor's ex. Well, soon-to-be ex, anyway. The divorce isn't through yet.
She was having a drink with her boyfriend's wife?
Oh, yes, it's all quite amicable. Joyce and Margie have been friends for years.
And this meeting, Do you have any idea what it was about?
No. I expect you'll have to ask Joyce about that.
And this squares with your findings, Dr. Reynolds? I would say so. This unfortunate young woman's been dead less than 2 hours. There's very little I can tell you beyond that at this stage. Mind you, I doubt if a post-mortem will give us much more. However, there are a couple of things that should interest you. Well, as you saw, she was shot at very close range. From the position of the body, my opinion would be that the first fatal wound was to the head. Whoever did this probably grabbed her by the hair and shot her through the temple, let her fall, then put another 2 shots into her chest in the area of the heart. Obviously, he was taking no prisoners. None whatsoever.
Weir. James Douglas Grant.
And your occupation, Mr. Weir?
Late of the Highland Light Infantry. Major. Retired.
Oh, what, is it Major Weir then?
If you like. I don't insist on it, though. Not been on the active list since before you were born, young man.
Right then, Major. What can you tell me about last night?
Not much, I'm afraid. I was sitting here reading. Heard 3 shots. Small bore. .22, I'd say. Then a man steps running down the stairs. Decentish shoes.
How do you know that?
Well, I don't really, not for sure. But when you live in these flats as long as I have, you learn to recognize the different sounds people make on the stair.
So you recognize the footsteps?
No, I didn't say that. He was a stranger, I think. But he wasn't wearing boots or trainers. What do you call them? These Doc Martin things. Anyway, from the sound, I'd say he was wearing decent leather shoes.
Very observant of you, Major.
Training, my boy. Anyway, as soon as I heard the shots, I went to the window.
The window?
Yes. At my age, you see, I don't move too quickly. I knew he'd be outside before I reached the stair. Thought I might catch sight of him as he left the building.
And did you?
Oh, yes. Just a glimpse, mind you.
Would you know him if you saw him again?
No, afraid not. Had his back to me, you see. Can't tell you much. He was wearing a camel coat, though. I did see that much.
A camel coat?
That's right. One of those posh jobs business types wear. Must be thousands of them in this city. Not much to go on, I'm afraid.
Oh, well, at least it's something. So what did you do then, sir?
Went out onto the stair. Found young Annabelle, Miss Niven, screaming her head off. Phoned your lot.
I see. Well, thanks very much, Major Weir. You've been very helpful. Tell me, did you know Miss Mellors well?
No, not really. Just a neighbour. You know, it's such a shame. Dreadful. She was a lovely girl, full of life. Damn good at her job, too, I'd say. Though I'm not sure I approved of her taste in men.
Mr. Stoddart, you mean?
That's right. What she saw in him beats me. Old enough to be her father. And a politician to boot. Never could stand the breed. Good God. The fellow jingles his change.
Jingles his change?
Yes. Take a tip from an old soldier, my boy. Never trust a man who jingles the change in his pocket when he's talking to you. 9 times out of 10, he can't be trusted.
This is where he came in, sir. See, the window's been slit down the sides, clean as a whistle. Lifted out with a glazier suction pad, I reckon.
You think so? Professional job, then?
Wouldn't doubt it, sir.
I don't get this, Ray. I just don't get it. Someone has taken the trouble to climb 3 stories and take out a window as neatly as that. Well, he isn't going to take the chance of being caught in the act, is he?
No, sir. He'd cased the place thoroughly, and this kind of work, well, a professional wouldn't carry a gun.
Oh, we can't be sure of that, of course.
No, sir. Well, probably not.
What do you mean, probably? Do you have somebody in mind for this?
Well, sir, if it wasn't for the killing and another small detail, I'd put good money on who's responsible for this break-in.
What do you mean you recognise the M.O.?
Oh, yeah, it's got all the trademarks. The window in particular, it's a dead giveaway. It's Simpson, sir. A certain Joseph Mackay Simpson of this very parish.
Are you sure about this?
Positive. Except for the killing, as I say. Joe's got no history of violence.
Oh, well, there's a first time for everything, Ray. Right, we better pick him up as soon as possible. Have a word with him about his whereabouts this evening.
Oh, that won't be difficult, sir, but I did say there was another wee detail, so it might be a bit complicated.
What's that?
Well, as far as I know, Sir, Joe Simpson's in jail. He's finishing off 7 years in Drum Lane.
Malcolm?
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm?
Yeah, was it?
Do you love me, Malcolm?
Paul? Oh, Pauline, for God's sake. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. What the hell are you talking about?
Malcolm, I asked you if you loved me. That's not a silly question, surely. Do you love me?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Say it properly.
Oh, Pauline, listen, I'm on early shift tomorrow. I'll look like a panda if I don't get some sleep.
Malcolm, say it.
Okay. Pauline, I love you. I really and truly love you. Cross my heart and hope to die.
Malcolm.
Now, if you don't mind, I'd really like to get some sleep. And it's 2 eggs with a bacon. Unless you happen to have some sausages.
The death has occurred in circumstances which suggest foul play of the well-known television broadcaster and journalist Margie Mellors. Police were called last night to Miss Mellors' Glasgow flat, where her body was discovered by her friend and business partner, Annabelle.
Montgomery! Hey, Malcolm.
Morning, Richard.
Have you heard the news?
Margie Mellors, you mean? Yeah, I heard it on the way in.
You knew her, didn't you?
That's right, when I was a student. She was in my year at university.
You must be feeling a bit rough. I'm really sorry, Malcolm.
That's okay, you can relax. I didn't know her that well, to tell you the truth.
Several lines of inquiry are being followed. In particular, we would like to speak to a man who was seen leaving the apartment building at approximately 9 o'clock last night. This man is described as being of medium height, wearing a camel overcoat. We appeal to this man, or anyone who saw him or knows anything about him, to come forward in order that he can be eliminated from our inquiries. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, that's all.
You have a suspect, Inspector Donahue.
Have you found a weapon?
What was Margie wearing at the time? Have you any idea of the motive? Was the flat rod? Did you get much jewellery?
I said that is all, ladies and gentlemen.
I've already done that.
So, how well did you know her?
Eh?
Margie?
Oh, not very well. She was the editor of the student newspaper for a while. We had 1 or 2 mutual friends.
She wasn't one of your old flames, then?
Well, she wasn't really into boyfriends. You couldn't just casually suggest a date. How's about the GFT on Friday or whatever? Not with her. No, you needed a hell of a lot more than good looks and a striking personality to get anywhere with Ms. Mellors.
Well, that would certainly rule you out.
Oh, very funny. Nah, the only men that interested Margie were the ones who might do her some good. She was a really determined young lady. A real go-getter.
A gold digger, you mean?
Well, you can put all that if you want. But it's not so much the money, though. She was certainly ambitious, and she made no secret about it. So when she eventually wound up on the telly, nobody was surprised.
Did you know the boyfriend? Gregor Stoddart?
Nah. I somehow don't think she met him at university.
There's quite a difference in ages there, isn't there?
Well, he must have had something. Otherwise, like I say, Margie just wouldn't have been interested.
Good morning, Mr. Stoddart. I'm Detective Inspector Donahue. This is D.S. Sussex.
Pleased to meet you, sir. Sorry for your trouble.
Thank you, Sergeant. And thank you very much for coming in, Mr. Stoddart.
Well, to be honest, Inspector, I'd rather speak to you here than at the flat.
Yes, I can understand that, sir. However, what I don't quite understand is why you felt you had to bring a lawyer.
Oh, I'm not here as a lawyer, Inspector. Just as a friend. This has been a great shock for all of Margie's friends, but Gregor is obviously quite shattered by her death. I'm here to lend moral support, that's all. But if you'd rather I left...
No, Mr. Murray, that's quite all right. Stay, if you like.
Inspector, is there anything you can tell me about this? I've heard nothing except what's been in the media. Have there been any developments? Is there any information as to who might have done this?
No, I'm afraid not, sir. As a matter of fact, we're rather hoping that you might be able to help us.
I'll do anything I can, Inspector. No, it's like, what is it you want to know?
Well, sir, about the burglary. Have you been able to establish if anything's missing from the flat?
Yes, Inspector. I'm afraid there is. A rather valuable painting seems to have disappeared. It's a Crawhall. Girl Among the Geese, it's called.
Crawhall?
Yes, Joseph Crawhall. He's one of the Glasgow boys.
That's a school of painters, Inspector. They flourished in Glasgow around the turn of the century.
Yes, Mr. Murray, I've heard of the Glasgow boys.
Mr. Stoddart, do you mind if I ask what size this painting is?
Actually, it's not very large. I don't know the exact dimensions, but it's about 3 feet high, 2 feet across.
And its value? Is it insured?
Well, in monetary terms, it's not hugely valuable. I had it insured for £2,000, I think. That was quite a few years ago. Its sentimental value is a different matter entirely.
Oh?
Yes, sir. I bought it over 30 years ago with the first real money I ever made.
I see. And how many people knew that you had this painting in your possession?
Oh. Lots. I wouldn't have dreamt of putting it away in a bank vault or anything like that. So it was always on show. I was very proud of it, you see.
Trouble is, a case like this puts the whole force under the microscope. There's going to be a lot of pressure on us to get a quick result, so let's not waste any time. Now, so far, we have evidence of a break-in and a witness who saw a man leaving the apartment building and Ray Sussex following up the break-in. Now, what I want from you two is a complete rundown on the background of Miss Mellors and her movements last night. Check out the office, Richard. It's called Marbell Productions, and it's an address in Byers Road.
Right, sir. It'll be open this morning?
Yes. Annabel Niven, the partner, will be there. She's expecting you. Go through Miss Miller's desk, her diary, correspondence, a lot. Let's see if she stood on anybody's toes. Montgomery?
Yes, sir.
I want you to talk to Mrs. Stoddart.
The wife?
That's right. She runs some sort of design business in Bath Street. She and Margie apparently met for a drink last night.
Oh, yeah?
She might well have been the last person to see Margie alive. Find out what they talked about and what they were both doing afterwards.
I will do, sir.
Also, there's something else you might do.
Yes, sir.
How are your connections in the art world, Montgomery?
Not great. I know one or two people, though.
I thought you might. See what you can find out about a painting called Girl Among Geese. It's by a Glasgow artist called Joseph Crawhall.
Right, sir. Actually, as it happens, I think I know the very man. And I might be able to get something else out of him.
Oh, yes? How's that?
Well, the man I'm thinking of, sir. George Lawson's his name. He runs an art gallery in Sauchiehall Street. He used to share a flat with Margie Mellors.
Did he indeed? Well, well. This great city of ours never fails to surprise me. It can often seem a very small place.
Sometimes, sir. Still, you never know. George might give us some useful background.
Well, see what you can find out anyway. Right. Off you go with the pair of you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Case conference at 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Right, yes, sir.
You're finished at Craigton, then?
Just about. 1 or 2 wee jobs to be done. Mainly the lighting. Davy's finishing off there just now.
Good. And you'll make a start at Bear's Den in the morning? She's been on the phone again. Wants to make sure she's in.
I'll be there first thing, tell her.
Excuse me, Mrs. Stoddart? Mrs. Joyce Stoddart?
Yes, that's me. What can I do for you?
Police, Mrs. Stoddart?
Oh, yes, of course. It's about Margie. I've been expecting you, Mr...
Montgomery, Detective Constable Montgomery.
Please do come in and sit down, Mr. Montgomery.
Thank you.
Do you want me to stay?
Oh, no, Alistair, this has nothing to do with you. This is my site foreman, Mr. Montgomery, Alistair Graham.
Mr. Graham?
I don't know what to do without him, my strong right arm. It's all right, Alistair. I don't need you just now. So you better get away and measure up Mrs. Murdoch's kitchen.
If you're sure...
Of course I'm sure. What would this nice policeman want with you? Alistair, don't hang around, on you go.
Right then. If there's nothing else, I'll get on my way.
Nice meeting you, Mr. Graham.
Oh, aye. Likewise.
Did I say something?
Oh, Don't be offended, Mr. Montgomery. He's like that with everybody, I'm afraid. I have to keep jollying him along. Well, he'd put me into a depression. He's a first-class workman, though. And you can't have everything.
That's okay. I just wondered what I'd said.
You'll be used to it, I suppose, though.
You used to what?
Well, people aren't always exactly civil to the police, are they?
Oh, no, they're certainly not. Anyway, Mrs. Stoddart, if I can get on, I have a few questions I'd like to ask you about last night.
Oh, God. Poor Margie. It was a shocking business. I really can't believe it. Gregor must be devastated.
I understand you had a meeting with Miss Mellors last night.
That's right. We met for a couple of spritzers at the Clifford.
And what time would that be?
Oh, 8-ish? 10 to 8, something like that. We weren't together long. We left the pub at 8:30. I remember particularly because Margie seemed to be in a hurry.
Oh, yes. Why was that?
I really don't know. When she noticed the time, she seemed anxious to get away.
I see. And afterwards, did you go straight home?
Oh, no. Oh, no chance. There was a staff party last night.
A party?
Well, a dinner, really. You see, the business, we design and fit kitchens and bathrooms to order, has had a very good year. So I decided to treat the workforce to a night out. We went to a restaurant called The Penguin. It's in Byers Road.
Ah, yes, I know the place. And you were there for how long?
Oh, hours. I didn't get home till well after midnight.
I see. Can we go back to this meeting with Miss Mellors? Who arranged it?
Margie did. She phoned me up yesterday afternoon and suggested we have a chat.
Really? And why was that?
Is it important?
It might be.
Suppose I was to tell you it was simply a matter of two friends meeting for a drink.
Well, that would strike me as a little odd, given your domestic arrangements.
Domestic arrangements? You mean the fact that Margie was sleeping with my husband?
Well, I wouldn't put it quite like that.
No, I don't suppose you would. And if you did, you'd be drawing quite the wrong conclusion. You see, Mr. Montgomery, it wasn't like that. It wasn't at all like that. Gregor and I haven't had a real marriage for a long time. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, I think so.
We'd have divorced years ago, only there didn't seem to be much point. And then along came Margie. I was quite happy to let him go.
So what was the problem? This meeting you had with Miss Mellors?
Did I say there was a problem?
Was there?
Well, yes. There was. A matter of community property. The division of spoils, you might say. Gregor and I couldn't agree, and Margie wanted to negotiate. So, that's what our meeting was about last night.
I see. And this negotiation, was it successful?
Now that, Mr. Montgomery, is definitely none of your business.
Mrs. Stoddart, this interview is part of a murder investigation, and you're not in a position to say what is or isn't my business, all right? I won't press you on the matter now, but I may want to talk to you again.
I'm sorry. I'll be honest with you, Mr. Montgomery. I really didn't care for Margie Mellors. As far as I'm concerned, she was a chancer. And a tart, quite frankly. I think Gregor was a fool to have had anything to do with her. And if they'd been married, I'd have given them no more than 2 years at the outside. So you wouldn't expect me to grieve. I'm shocked, yes. But that's as far as it goes. I've no time for hypocrites. Still, God knows she didn't deserve to die like that. And I sincerely hope you find the person responsible. Now, is there anything else?
No. I think that's all for now, Mrs. Stoddart. Thank you very much for your time.
I mean what I say. I hope you find them.
Oh, don't worry, Mrs. Stoddart. We will.
Look who it is, me. My old pal, Mr. Sussock. How you doing, Ray?
Not so bad, Joe. Yourself?
Can't complain. This place isn't any great shakes, but next to Barrel is a bloody holiday camp. Is that all right, George?
Behave yourself, Simpson.
See what I mean, Ray? You even get a better class of screw in this place. More polite.
Watch it, Simpson.
Relax, George. Only joking. Very touchy in here, Ray, you know. Anyway, I'd better get to it. To what do I owe the pleasure then, eh? I take it this isn't a social call.
Hardly, Joe. I'm looking for some help with a burglary.
Aye. What burglary?
A flat in the West End was broken into last night.
Last night? Oh, well, it wasn't me, eh? I was in the whole evening. Curled up in front of the telly, wasn't I, George?
It looked like your handiwork, Joe.
How do you mean?
Oh, come on, you know fine what I mean. The way the window was taken out was as good as a signature. Joe Simpson written all over it.
I didn't know. Well, it wasn't me, eh? Sorry. Hey, come on. It's not like I've got copyright or something, eh? Ray, I can't help you, okay?
I think you can, Joe.
Oh, aye. How's that?
Joe, I've been in this game a long time, so don't act simple. You know fine well what I mean.
What? Do you think I've got a student, do you? An apprentice? Somebody off the YTS scheme? Oh, Christ. You pull a slammy at times, isn't he kidding?
Who was it, Joe?
I don't know. Oh, for God's sake, Mr. Sussex. And even supposing I did, why should I tell you? What good would it do me? I'm out of here next month. Finished with the whole damn business.
Oh, aye?
You bet your boots I am. Thieving's like police work, Ray. It's a young man's game. You just haven't noticed.
You know who did this, Joe. I'm certain of it.
No, I don't. Look, read my lips, will you? I cannot tell you. End of story.
No, it isn't, Joe. And you know me better than that.
Listen, Ray, I'll tell you this much. The guy you're looking for is a cut above the normal run of smash-and-grab merchants you get these days. If he copied me, the man had style. That's all I can tell you.
He also had a handgun.
What?
The owner of the flat. A young woman, Joe. Surprised him at his work. And he shot her. 3 times.
You're no serious.
Never more so. This is murder we're talking about, Joe.
Jesus. Is that case that was on the telly, that Margie Mellors?
Margie Mellors.
Now that is out of order. That is really out of order.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah, you're dead right it is, but that's not what I meant as it happens. I mean, you thought this guy was me, Ray. You have the nerve to come in here and suggest that this job might have had something to do with me. Good God, Sussex, what's the matter with you? You want your heat examined, I'm telling you.
Simpson, keep it down.
Aye, right.
Now you listen to me, Joe.
No, you listen to me. I've been a thief all my days, I'll no deny it. But there's 2 things I've never done. I've never stolen off of anybody that couldn't afford it, and I've never, nor ever, so much as laid a finger on anybody in my life. Now, you know that, Ray, and all the police know that.
Aye. And you know that we have to check into everything. This is a murder inquiry, Joe. We'll no stop till we get to the bottom of it. We're going to nail this guy in the end. You can depend on that.
Aye. Likely you will.
So, are you going to help me or are you not?
Yeah, I don't know. Where is this drum?
Monroe Terrace, off Great Western Road.
Oh, aye. I know where you are. How high?
3rd floor. Came in the back.
That's a bitch. I screwed a drum there myself 20 years ago. It was murder.
So was this?
Aye, right. Do us a favour with the jokes, Sussex. I'm trying to think here.
Sorry, Joe.
What was he after? What did he nick?
He got away with a valuable painting.
Painting, eh? Ah, classy. Still a sergeant, are you, eh?
What?
It's still Detective Sergeant Sussex, is it?
Aye, it is. What about it?
See, you, pal. If you'd used the brains God gave you, you'd have been Chief Bloody Inspector by this time.
Simpson, I won't tell you again.
Take it easy, Joe.
Right, OK, that's it. Visit over. Come on, George. We're out of here.
So how does this business work, Miss Niven?
Mainly on commissions from the BBC, Channel 4 or whoever. We take an idea, research it, cost it, then present the whole package to the commissioning company, who usually provide the finance.
And what was Margie's part in this?
Front of the camera, mainly. She was a very accomplished broadcaster, but she also had a first-rate creative mind. Most of the programme ideas were hers. Me, I was usually left to do the donkey work.
Did you mind that?
No, not really. Though it could get a bit... sticky at times.
Sticky? How's that?
Well, Margie had such a temperament. You had to get used to that if you were going to work with her.
Right.
She thought she knew best about everything, basically. Always wanted her own way. And, oh, she'd be impossible until she got it.
Which she usually did.
Oh, yes. It would become an obsession with her.
I see. And what was her current obsession?
Well, we just finished a film called Dance of Death. It'll be going out later this year. Ironic title, isn't it?
I suppose so. What was the film about?
It was about the rave scene in the west of Scotland and the incidence of drug-related deaths. I'll get a tape for you if you like.
Yeah, if you don't mind, it might be useful.
We had to deal with some pretty dicey people for that programme. I can give you a list of contacts, too. Oh, yes, and here's a desk diary. It's got a note of all our appointments.
Let's see. That's interesting.
What is it?
What are these entries for yesterday? Can you take me through them?
Oh.
6:45, Martin.
That's Martin Bailey, Margie's publisher. She'd written a novel, would you believe? A crime thriller.
Let's see. Then 7:45, Joyce.
Joyce Stoddart. I told your colleague about that last night.
Yeah, we know about Mrs. Stoddart. But what's this?
What?
This last entry, 8:45 p.m.
Oh. I don't know. No idea.
Are you sure? Think about it, Miss Niven. This could be very important.
You're not suggesting... No, it couldn't be, surely.
What couldn't be?
Well, there could be any number of reasons for that entry. I mean, maybe it was to remind her to do something on the way home, or maybe she had some reason for wanting to be back by then.
You don't really believe that, do you, Miss Niven?
No, I don't. It does look very much like Margie had arranged to meet somebody.
And that time would place it shortly before her death. There's no name, but have you any idea who it might be?
No, not really. Except... Oh, no, surely not.
Yes, Miss Niven?
Look, Mr. King, there's something I think I better tell you.
He knows, Elka. I'm sure he knows.
Knows what? Who the perp is?
Well, maybe not. But he knows something anyway. Joe Simpson knows something about this, but he's not saying.
But there's no reason why he should, is there?
No, I suppose not, but I mean...
It was a long shot going to see him in the first place. He's the perfect alibi.
That's right. So why was he so angry about it? That's what makes me think he knows something.
Ray, do you really expect a convicted criminal to give us information without getting something in return?
As a rule, of course not. But let me tell you about this guy, Elka. He's been a professional thief for 40 years, since he was a juvenile. And he's clocked up just 4 convictions. 2 of them for reset. He fancies his own gear.
Steals to order, you mean?
And that's right, as far as we can tell. Works completely alone, anyway. He's committed God only knows how many burglaries, but as I say, he's been caught just twice. The first time was when he came off the back of a hotel in George Square.
What?
Yeah, he slipped and fell. Broke both his legs so he couldn't run away. Well, that was back in the 60s. Second time was the old Paramount Cinema. Manager had left his house keys in the office. When he went back in for them, he found Joe breaking into his safe.
How did Joe react to that?
Put his hands up. No resistance. No attempt to escape. I'm telling you, Elka, this is a man that hates violence. He actually takes a pride in not being violent. When I told him that someone using his MO was involved in this case, I expected... I don't know.
Expected what, Ray?
Well, I thought he'd be angry at the perp, not at me. That's what makes me think he knows something.
What does the computer say about him?
Not a lot.
Known associates?
None. A solo turn.
Family?
No, he's been divorced. Now there's a thought. Hi, Martha. How's it going?
Mr. Sussex, is it? What do you want?
Well, a wee half pint would be nice.
Oh, you're welcome. But that's all you're getting.
I've no asked for anything else, have I?
Aye, but I know you, Colas. You wouldn't be in here if you weren't on the sniff or something. Well, you'll get nothing here, Sussex. This is a respectable bar.
Oh, sure. A bit quiet, though.
Busy enough for me at this time of day. You should see it at night.
Fortunate.
Aye, that just about describes it. I'm no complaining anyway.
Well, I'm glad to see you're doing well, Martha. You deserve it.
You bet I do.
So how's the family? The boys still with you?
Nah, no them.
Shot the crow, eh? Well, that's the way of the world. What about the old fella?
The old fella? Simpson, you mean? Honest Joe? If that's who you're looking for, Sussex, you can forget it. I divorced him years ago.
Oh, that's right, so you did, Martha. I was forgetting.
And if I don't see that Torag for another 100 years, it'll be too soon for me. I want nothing to do with him, and neither do my boys.
Is that right, Martha?
Dead right. We're doing fine without him, thanks very much. Michael's out in Australia now. Got his own business in Melbourne.
Doing well, is he?
Very well. I'll be going out there myself in the summer. A wee holiday.
Ah, that'd be nice for you. And what about Alistair?
Oh, he's still in Glasgow. I know he was a wee bit wild for a while, but he's got a good job now.
Oh, aye. Doing what?
None of your business, Sussex. I'm no wanting you going pestering him about his father, dragging up the past.
No, Martha, you get the wrong end of the stick. I'm just being sociable, that's all. I'm no interested in Joe. I mean, he's in jail, isn't he?
Is he?
Well, as far as I know, he is.
Aye. Well, if he's no, he bloody well should be. Neither me nor my boys want anything to do with him. As a matter of fact, we didn't even use his name these days.
Malcolm, nice to see you. It's been ages.
Likewise, George. Excellent time, please, Lex. I see your name in the papers every so often. How are things in the art world, eh? How are you doing?
Oh, surviving. You know how it is. How about yourself? Still sleuthing away? Keeping the villains off the streets?
Well, there's a bit more to it than that, George. Paperwork, mostly.
Oh, I'm sure. Nobody escapes. This isn't an official visit, by the way, is it?
No, not really. I'd like your advice about something, that's all.
It's not about Margie, is it?
Yes, it is actually, I'm afraid so.
Oh dear. Lovely girl. I'm heartbroken, Malcolm.
Yes, I know you were very close at one time.
Close doesn't begin to describe it. We lived together for the better part of a year. When I heard the news, I mean, I couldn't believe it. I still can't believe it.
Look, I don't want to upset you, George, but I really think you might be able to help me here.
If I can, of course. What do you want to know?
Well, you can tell me about a painting for a start.
A painting?
It's Girl Among Geese by Joseph Crawhall. Do you know it?
I don't think I've ever seen it, but I know of it, of course. Crawhall was one of the Glasgow boys, though he wasn't a native Scot. Came from Geordieland, I think. There's a lot of his work in the Barrow. A good painter, good watercolourist, very collectible.
So, this painting would be worth a fair bit?
Oh, yes.
How much, roughly?
Difficult to say. Let's put it like this. If you sold a Crawhall, you wouldn't be able to retire for life, but you could certainly afford a few weeks off, and maybe a luxury cruise.
What, a few thousand then?
5 or 6, I suppose. Something of that order. What's the Crawhall got to do with this? With Margie's death, Malcolm?
Well, it was stolen from the flat. Apparently it belonged to Gregor Stoddart.
Stoddart owned a Crawhall?
Does that surprise you?
Oh, I suppose not. Stoddart's full of surprises.
What makes you say that, George?
Perhaps I shouldn't. I mean, I don't really know the man.
George.
And I'm not really in a position to be objective about him, am I?
This is all off the record, George. Nobody's going to quote you. Just two old mates having a chat.
All right. Like I say, I don't really know Gregor Stoddart. His wife, Joyce, she's the art lover. I know her much better. She buys a fair bit from me, other galleries as well, and knows what she's doing. Anyway, their marriage has been a sham for years, that's common knowledge. But when Margie appeared on the scene, well, that was a surprise.
The difference in their ages, you mean?
Not exactly. Knowing Margie and how lively she always was, that might seem a bit odd. But that sort of relationship's more common than you might think.
Well, why the surprise, then?
Well, I'm not sure how to put this. And I honestly can't say for definite. Let's say we're talking about an impression based on a rumour, grounded in speculation.
George, will you get to the point? What's the big surprise about Margie and Stoddart?
Right then. It's just that Gregor Stoddart never really struck me as a ladies' man, if you take my meaning.
Right. Let's kick this around a bit, eh? On the face of it, what we have is a murder committed during the commission of a burglary. Margie Mellors returns home to find an intruder who shoots her and makes his escape. Any comments?
Well, sir, I don't think I'd buy that scenario.
Why not, Ray?
Well, this burglary was a professional job, no question about it. Yet the testimony we have from the neighbour, Major Weir, doesn't square with that. The man that was seen running from the locus was wearing good leather shoes and a camel coat.
It's not exactly your standard housebreaking gear, is it, sir?
No, I wouldn't think so. Then there's his method of entry. At 3 stories up, he'd have to do some climbing, possibly up from the ground, but more likely down from the roof. Either way, he would have needed a line of some kind. Now, if the supposition is that he was surprised during the burglary, shot Miss Mellors, then he made his escape down the stairs...
You would have expected him to leave something behind him.
That's right. Yet nothing was found.
So where does this take us?
I think we're dealing with 2 perpetrators here, sir. The burglar and the killer.
You think the burglary was committed separately from the murder?
That's right. Possibly sometime before.
And completely unrelated, you think? So what was the motive for the murder? Excuse me, everybody. O'Donoghue? Yes? Oh, yes. When was this? Oh, I see. Oh, yes, we're interested, all right. Yes, yes, thank you for letting us know. Well, well, Ray. There's the thing.
What's that, sir?
Joe Simpson. He's broken out of Drum Lane.
Right, come here, you.
What the... Dad!
Sit down, shut up. I want to talk to you.
What are you doing here? You should be in the gym.
Never mind about that. You've been thieving again, haven't you, you wee swine?
No, Dad, look, no, honest.
You screwed that lassie's drum in Monroe Terrace. You got on the roof, climbed down and took the window out, just like I taught you, you wee rat bag.
Dad, listen to me. I can explain it.
Explain? How are you going to explain murder, Ali? That lassie's dead, and you were there.
I never murdered anybody, I swear to God. Dad, look, that had nothing to do with me.
Aye, you tried telling the police that. They've got you down for it.
No, they've no. They can't pin that on me.
Oh, no? And how could they know, smart ass, eh?
'Cause I was in and out there long before the murder went down, and I can prove it.
Aye. How's that?
'Cause they know when she was shot, and at the time of the shooting, I was nowhere near the place. I was sitting in a pub. I was in the Penguin in Byers Road, right, and I've got at least 6 witnesses to prove it.
Oh, well, bully for you. But what were you doing thieving in the first place? You promised me you were going straight, you useless git.
And I kept my promise, Dad. I did.
You call this keeping your promise? I thought you had a decent job.
You have. And I wasn't thieving. You've got to believe me.
Oh, so what about this picture, then?
That wasn't theft.
Is that what you're going to tell the police? Are you Marxist now, is that it?
Look, Dad, that painting didn't belong to them.
What are you saying?
I'm telling you, Dad. That MP, that guy stole it. He stole it. I just broke into the flat to get it back for the rightful owner.
Sir, it strikes me that this could have been a crime of passion.
Yes, I'm inclined to agree, Richard. From the state of the body, whoever shot Miss Mellors had more in mind than a simple getaway, which fits in with Ray's theory.
It also suggests that Margie knew her murderer, or at least had dealings with him.
Yeah, well, we've got something on that, sir. The last entry in her desk diary.
Yes, 8:45 p.m. Certainly looks as if she had somebody to see just before she died.
Excuse me, sir. Do you mind if I take a look?
By all means, Montgomery.
You know, that's funny.
What is?
Well, it might be nothing, sir, but all these times, 6:15, 7:45, they're all just numbers, no AM or PM, except the last. 8:45 p.m.
So?
Well, sir, is it possible that the PM doesn't actually stand for post-meridian? That it might be something else?
You mean a name? Somebody's initials? PM?
Perhaps.
Does that ring any bells with you, Richard?
No, sir. But, well, the thought occurs to me, that might have been a new contact. Maybe one she wanted to keep secret. According to Annabel Niven, Margie had shown some interest in making a programme about outing.
Outing? What's that?
It's to do with the gay community, sir. Apparently, quite a number of public figures are closet gays, and the idea is to make them admit their sexual preference, unmask them, as it were.
No. That could be a very tricky business.
Well, that's what Miss Niven thought. She was against the whole idea.
Why that?
On moral grounds, partly, sir. She feels that people have a right to their privacy.
Quite. Although that's a strange outlook for a journalist, I'd say.
Yes. Well, she also thought it wouldn't make for interesting viewing, which I suppose tells you why Margie had all the bright ideas. Anyway, she tried to talk her out of it.
Unsuccessfully, I presume.
She thinks that's possible. Margie Mellors very much liked to get her own way, and according to Miss Niven, she had a contact who was ready to supply her with all the dirt she needed.
Sir, I'm not sure where this is leading. Are we saying she was murdered by a closet gay?
You find that unreasonable, Montgomery?
No, I suppose not. I'm just trying to make a connection.
Yes. What is it, WPC Willems?
Sorry for interrupting, sir, but I thought you'd like to know. Joe Simpson's just arrived at the front desk to give himself up.
What?
He's brought his son with him, a young man who now calls himself Alistair Graham.
Graham, of course.
He's ready to make a full confession regarding the burglary at Monroe Terrace.
Ah, Mr. Montgomery. What a nice surprise.
I'm afraid not, Mrs. Stoddart. This is WPC Willems, and this is a warrant to search the house.
I don't understand.
We have reason to believe there's stolen property on these premises.
Stolen property? Oh, I don't think so, miss.
We have Alistair Graham in custody, Mrs. Stoddart. He's told us everything.
It'll save you a great deal of inconvenience if you simply give the painting up.
Painting? Now, what painting would that be?
Mrs. Stoddart, don't play games with us. You know perfectly well. It's Girl Among Geese by Joseph Crawhall, which I believe you have in your possession.
That's true. It certainly is in my possession, but I can assure you it's not stolen. Unless they've changed the law, you can't steal your own property. And that painting's mine.
Mrs. Stoddart, please.
I bought that painting with my own money 30 years ago when I was young and in love. Greg has forgotten that, of course. It suits him to forget. But that doesn't alter the facts.
Mrs. Stoddart, that may well be the case, but your marital affairs aren't really our concern.
What did you say your name was again?
Willems. WPC Willems. Now,
well,
if you...
let me ask you something, Miss WPC Willems. Suppose you've been married to a man for 30 years. The best years of your life. Put up with his peccadillos, his philanderings with women, men, little
Mrs.
boys,
Stoddart, this
and
really
then after
isn't
all this time, he not only throws you over for some little tart, but steals. Steals, Miss Willems, your most precious possession.
Right, Mrs. Stoddart, that's enough.
What would you do, Miss Willems, eh?
I said that's
well,
enough.
I wasn't about to let him get away with that, I can assure you.
Joyce Stoddart, I'm arresting you for conspiracy to commit robbery.
That painting is mine!
I must warn you that anything you say will be taken down and maybe used in evidence. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Do you think I'm stupid?
Look, are you going to hand over the painting or do we have to pull the house apart?
Oh, all right. Just a minute.
You go in, Elke, I'll follow you.
Righto, Malcolm.
It's in here. I didn't even have time to rehang it. Here. Take the damn thing.
Thank you.
This doesn't change anything, you know. That painting still belongs to me.
Why did you try to steal it, Mrs. Stoddart? Why didn't you just raise a civil action? Take your husband to court.
Court? Huh, that's a laugh. What chance would I have in court against him and his tame lawyer? Raise an action against Gregor and the Pie Man? Oh, you must be joking.
The Pie Man?
That's what they call him, Mr. Montgomery.
Call who? Who are you talking about?
Gregor's greasy little friend and erstwhile lover. That's who. Simple Simon Murray.
Pie Man. PM?
This is the end, Simon. This is the end of everything.
No, it isn't, Greg. You'll get over it. You've got over these things before.
Over it? No, you don't understand. Margie was my last chance. My last real chance.
Last real chance of what? You're not making any sense.
Do you think I like the life I've had to lead? My God, the number of times I wished I were dead. Squalid little... Margie could have saved me from all that. For the first time, I really felt...
For the first time? Is that how you feel? You were freezing me out, Greg. Margie was freezing me out. You're upset now, that's understandable. A shock to the system, all right. But sometimes we need a shock. And in time you'll come to realise it was for the best.
The best?
Margie was an illusion, Greg. Face up to it. Margie was a mirage. Good God, do you think you could have been happy with her? Some sort of normal, eh? Margie was an uptight control freak. And you're the only one that couldn't see it. That's your problem, Greg. You've never had any taste or judgment. That's why you need me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, come on, Greg, get wise. Margie would never have made you happy. She'd never have fulfilled you, any more than Joyce did.
Joyce?
At least Joyce made some attempt to understand. At least Joyce recognized your needs, turned a blind eye. My God, the woman was a saint. Isn't that ridiculous? Saint Joyce. Well, I know what I would have done in her place. Yes, and I'd do it again. I suppose Joyce loved you, really. Love. It's a curious thing, isn't it?
Simon.
You remember Amsterdam, Greg? Year after we graduated, 65, wasn't it?
That was a very long time ago.
Oh, for you it was, yes. For you, that's all in the past. Life on another planet. Loyalty's never been your ace card, has it? But I haven't forgotten. For me, those were the most wonderful 2 months of my entire life.
Simon, please. I've changed, can't you understand? I'm not the same person I was then. I'm not like that.
You're not like that anymore. Oh, don't make me laugh, Greg, please. Do you think I didn't know about your call girls and your rent boys and your oh-so-discreet affairs? Of course I knew. So did Joyce. The only people who didn't know were your bloody voters. And how long do you think it would have been before Margie...
Simon, I loved Margie. And she loved me.
No, she didn't, Greg. I hate to do this to your lover, but really, you must come down to earth. Margie Mellors was not a nice person.
That's it, Simon. I can't take any more of this. I'm leaving.
Greg, she deserved everything she got. She had it coming to her.
How can you say that? You're mad.
For God's sake, see sense. She'd have destroyed you.
I'm going.
No, Greg. No.
What the hell are you trying to do?
No, you listen to this, whether you like it or not. Margie didn't love you, Greg. She didn't love anybody. I'll tell you what she loved. Finding out people's secrets and telling them to the world.
Simon!
She was planning to ruin some friends of ours, Greg. Ruin some brilliant careers. I tried to talk her out of it. Even Annabelle tried. But she wouldn't listen, would she? No, the bitch wouldn't listen. She had first-class information, she said, and she was going to use it. That's why I stopped her.
You did. You killed Margie.
Yes, it was me. I didn't want to use the gun, Greg, believe me, I didn't. I thought I wouldn't need to use it, but in the end I had no choice. And as it happened, the burglary gave me the perfect opportunity. And the perfect cover.
Oh my God, son. What have you done? What have you done?
I did it for you, Greg. I told her about you. I thought that would stop her. Do you know what she did? She laughed. Oh, well, she said, bang goes that marriage. That's what she said. That's how much she cared about you. That's why I shot her, Greg. Because she didn't love you. I shot her and I let the burglar take the blame.
We know you're in there!
Simon, what have you done? Simon Murray, I am arresting you on a charge of murder, and I must warn you that anything you say will be taken down and may be used in evidence. Do you understand?
Malcolm, you're home at last.
Pauline, you're still here?
Of course I am. We're going out, aren't we?
Out?
You promised to take me out to dinner.
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm sorry, it's been a long day.
I bought you a present.
Oh? What's this?
Open it and find out.
Oh, well. That's a really nice shirt.
You like it? It's real silk.
Yeah, it's lovely. Oh, what's this in aid of, Pauline?
Does it need to be in aid of anything?
Oh, Pauline.
I saw it in Mark's and I just thought how nice you'd look in it.
Yeah, it's lovely. Very smart. Thanks.
Don't mention it, Malcolm.
Just one thing, Pauline.
What's that?
Do us both a favour and don't get too fond of me, eh? You know what I mean? Just don't get too fond of me.
In The Good Thief, the part of Annabel was played by Sybil Winthrop, Major Weir by Simon Scott, D.S. Sussex by Jake Darcy, and D.I. Donahue by Crawford Logan. WPC Elka Willems was played by Eliza Langland, Dr. Reynolds by Paul Young, D.C. Abernethy by Andrew Conlon, and Pauline by Kate Kearney. D.C. Montgomery was played by Stuart Macquarie, Stoddart by Robin Thompson, D.C. King by Liam Brennan, and Murray by Finlay MacLean. Joyce Stoddart was played by Marianne Reid, Alistair by Andrew Fairley, and Joe Simpson by James Bryce. Other parts were played by members of the cast. The Good Thief was written by Donald Campbell and directed on location in Glasgow and in our Edinburgh studios by Hamish Wilson.
John Castle plays Detective Superintendent Thorne, and Andrew Branch, Detective Sergeant Abbott. John Sampson, Hugh Royston, Headmaster of Corriston College, and Victoria Carling, his wife Sylvia, in John Penn's murder mystery, Mortal Term, which has been dramatised by Melville Jones. The play is set in the Cotswolds. Mortal Term.
And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Please, everyone, please. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, I hope, an amiable social occasion, so I'll try not to spoil it with a lengthy head magisterial address. Firstly, thank you for coming. I know how frantic it can be on the first day back. I hope you all enjoy the holidays, and that we at least get some decent weather this summer time. In particular, let me welcome our new linguist, Stephen Layton, who will be with us for this term at least. Is Mr. Layton here?
I think he's over in the language laboratory, Headmaster.
Thank you, John. Well, there's enthusiasm for you. I expect you all know, given the speed at which news travels in our small community, that I was married in the holidays. Thank you very much. Sylvia is keen to get to know you all as quickly as possible, but she wants me to ask you to be as patient as you can while she gets used to our ways. Isn't that right, Sylvia?
Yes. Please.
I hope you will all introduce yourselves in the course of the evening, and before the term is out, Sylvia and I intend to have invited everyone on the staff to dinner with us here. Just a very brief word of shop. On a more mundane note, I'm informed of 3 pupils who have not yet arrived. Helen Quarry reports that Jane Hillmore is not back. And perhaps less surprisingly, Mark Joyner tells me that Pearson and Geary have not put in an appearance.
Take it you don't altogether approve then, Francis.
Well, it's nothing to do with me. Who knows his own mind, I suppose.
Perhaps. But I should say you were closer to him than anyone, had his confidence, protected him from the rest of us and all that.
I'm only his secretary, John. He doesn't tell me everything.
Yes, perhaps not. Did he tell you where he met her?
Not in so many words, but it seems it was a whirlwind courtship.
So where did you meet each other? Or am I being too nosy?
No, of course not. We met at Christmas, a hotel. My aunt and I, we always went away for Christmas.
Your aunt?
Yes. I lived with her. My parents died when I was small.
Oh, I see.
Hugh was staying at the same hotel.
Oh, I wondered where you went in the holidays. You'll find there are no secrets in our caring community.
Really?
Oh, we're not that bad. In fact, we're quite nice, really, Mrs. Royston.
I'm sure. And please, I'd much rather you called me Sylvia. Can't get used to Mrs. Royston.
Then Sylvia it shall be. And look, if it ever gets a bit much, just pop in for a natter. I promise I'll talk about anything except school. It'll do me good. Coping with the problems of adolescent girls 24 hours a day can be a bit traumatic.
Complaining already, are you, Helen?
I tell you, John, 4 weeks holiday is not enough.
Now, you mustn't depress Mrs. Royston on her first day with us. May I introduce myself, John Quarry, your husband's deputy.
Hello, I've heard such a lot about you. From Hugh.
Here you are.
I know he depends on you a great deal.
Ah, yes, I see.
And I've asked Mrs. Royce, no, I'm sorry, I mean Sylvia, to call in and see us whenever she feels like it.
Of course, yes, always welcome.
And you must come and meet Ruth, my wife, in Tarbert.
Tarbert?
There's my schoolhouse, the cross I bear.
A cross, indeed. Word has just come through. Pearson and Geary.
Oh, Lord, where are they?
At the station, it seems, with no money for a taxi. They expect someone to pick them up.
The cheek!
That little sod should have their backsides tanned years ago.
Oh, John, really?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Royston, but boys like that...
But I thought that Hugh told me there wasn't any corporal punishment at Coriston.
Oh, don't worry, there isn't. Your husband abolished it when he arrived. You'd approve, no doubt.
Well, I hadn't really thought.
With reprobates like Pearson and Geary, it's really the only thing... Well, I can't go. This is my fault.
Sherry.
And I wouldn't cross the road to fetch them.
Well, somebody will have to do it. We can't just leave them there, much as we'd like.
Oh, I suppose I'd better see if Ruth can go, just when she'll be trying to get the kids to bed.
Can't I? I've only had one drink.
You? Well, really, that's very kind of you, but why should you? It's our problem.
No, I'd like to, really. Be useful in some way. But this is your party. I'm sure no one would mind. Honestly, I think I prefer it. Get some air. I'm not really much good at parties, small talk, that sort of thing. I'll tell Hugh. Get my car keys.
You're quite sure you don't want me to come with you?
Quite sure. I know the way to the station. I'll only be gone a few minutes. You enjoy the party.
Oh, this is really very kind of you.
Not at all. To tell the truth, I'm glad to be out in the fresh air. I enjoyed the drive.
Ah, Paula! Getting a breather.
No, I was sent to fetch Steve Layton. He was lost in the language lab.
Just getting the hang of the system before my first class tomorrow. I'm sorry, I haven't introduced everybody.
Hello, I'm Paula Danby. I teach English. Hello.
Steve Layton, the new linguist. Knew everything, my first job.
Really?
Well, what about you? Have you been here long? No, of course not. You're far too young for that. So what do you teach?
This is Mrs. Royston, the headmaster's wife.
Oh, Lord, I'm sorry. I should have... But I didn't think. I mean, you look so...
Young. Is that it, Steve?
No,
Well, we'd better get on. Mrs. Royston's going to the station to pick up some late arrivals.
So I heard. The dreaded Pearson and Geary. That's very public-spirited of you. No, I'm pleased to. Well, watch that minibus. It's like a tank to drive. I'll get the keys then and show you where the brute is.
This is really very good of you, Mrs. Royston. And quite a surprise. Isn't it, Tony? Absolutely. We never saw our headmaster as a marrying kind.
Really? Are you all right in the back there, Jane? You're very quiet. I'm all right, thank you.
Jane's the quiet, studious type. Aren't you, Jane, dear?
It's left here, isn't it? I'm not too sure yet.
Yes, left at the garage.
Oh, the gearbox is very heavy.
You're doing fine, Mrs. Royston. Not far now. You'll be able to go back to your party. Yes, well, they've left you some drinks.
Oh, I don't mind.
Look out!
Oh, no.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Layton. I hope you had a chance to meet all your colleagues.
Yes. Thanks very much, Headmaster. I'm sorry I was late. I got a bit engrossed.
Not at all. I'm very impressed by your enthusiasm. Please, don't hesitate to ask for help or advice if you need it.
Thank you.
I can just remember what it was like to be starting in the profession. I'm sure you'll find us a friendly lot. Isn't that right, Paula?
Oh, yes. Most of the time.
Have you moved back into college yet, or are you still...
No, I moved back this afternoon. Knowing how generous you are with the sherry, I thought I'd better not risk the drive home.
Paula has bought herself a lovely thatched cottage, away from it all.
If you stay with us, Steve, I suggest you look for something outside the wire. It helps to keep you sane.
Now, come on. Don't frighten him off, after all.
Headmaster, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's a call for you in the office.
Oh, well, is it urgent? I'd rather...
Yes, I'm afraid it is. It's very urgent.
There's a WPC with her, sir, trying to calm her down. It's the shock, you see.
But she's definitely not hurt.
No, sir, not physically.
And the little boy?
Not very good at all, I'm afraid. Rushed him straight to the infirmary.
But he will be all right.
I wouldn't like to say, sir. It's too early.
And his family? You've contacted them, I imagine.
It happened more or less outside their front door. Terrible for them. He was chasing a football, you know how these little kids do. Ran right out. Your wife had no chance.
No, of course.
There were witnesses, so there shouldn't be a problem.
Problem?
For your wife, an inquest, if the lad doesn't...
I'm sure he'll pull through, Sergeant.
Yes. Your wife was naturally very distressed, Mr. Royston. I'm sorry we had to...
Had to what?
Any accident of this nature, we have to take a breath test. You do understand?
But no. Sylvia had drunk very little.
It only takes very little, sir. But the test was negative.
Of course it was. I told you.
It upset your wife, made the shock worse. This was a very serious accident.
Precisely. An accident. My wife was in no way to blame.
Yes, sir, we know that. But you may have to convince her.
Sylvia, please.
I'm sorry, but I can't forget. Every time I close my eyes, I see him running out right in front.
Oh, this is hopeless. It's been over a week. You've hardly slept at all.
You really ought to take these
I
tablets.
keep thinking if only I hadn't taken the minibus, been so confident.
Look, we've been through all this. It wouldn't have made any difference. He just ran out.
I was trying to be so helpful going to meet those boys. Showing what an asset I could be to you. How I could cope.
Stop it, please. What's the point of all this? It can't change anything. Everyone understands. They've all told you.
They feel sorry for me, Hugh. But if that little boy dies...
He's not going to die.
Will they still feel sorry for me, or will they blame me? And why shouldn't they? I blame myself.
Well, after that pounding, I suppose it might pass as Philip.
I shouldn't get into too much trouble. They would probably cry off anyway. I gather she still isn't able to face things. Some headmaster's wife she proved.
John, please behave tonight. Don't provoke Hugh.
I'm sure mince would have been just as good.
My God.
Well, what now?
Well, you don't suppose Sylvia's a vegetarian, do you?
I'm sure we'd have heard. Major piece of gossip like that?
Yes, of course. Francis would have told me.
Oh, indeed. Not a sparrow falls, but the school secretary.
Particularly where Sylvia's concerned. It's pathetic how jealous she is of her.
Jealous? Is that the word? Surely Francis didn't yearn for our leader's body.
Not all jealousy is sexual, John Quarry. Surprising as that may be to you, she resents the ending of her special relationship, the confidentiality.
Oh, possibly. Oh, what I said, only in emergencies. I'll get it. Look, problems?
I'm sorry, John. I wouldn't have disturbed.
Come on through. Helen's pounding the lifeblood out of a steak.
I didn't think it could wait until the morning. Hello, Helen. Sorry about this. Duty evening, is it? Yes. Steve Leighton and I are on. I've left him at the scene of the crime.
Oh, dear. Who's done what to whom and why? Pearson and Geary again?
Not this time, though they are amongst the crowd. No, it's a girl, and a most unlikely one. Really? One of ours? Jane Hillmore.
Jane Hillmore?
But she wouldn't say boo to a goose. Well, so I would have thought.
Well, what's she supposed to have done?
Steve and I were doing the rounds. There was this sudden commotion from one of your day rooms. We found a crowd clustered around Jane. She'd fallen on the stairs, cut herself. Oh, an accident. I thought you said... She was carrying a bottle of gin. Jane Hillmore? Oh, but that's extraordinary. She's not like that. She's got very strict old-fashioned
No,
hair.
are you sure about this gin?
She admits it.
Well, where the hell did she get it?
From your study. At least that's what she
Well,
said.
she went into my study and stole a bottle of gin.
So it seems. Oh, where's she now? I got a couple of prefects to take her to matron. Thought it best to have her out of the way.
Oh, quite right. Although I suppose the whole school will know by now.
I'm afraid so. There was a lot of stupid giggling and snide comments when we arrived on the scene. About Sylvia Royston. Well, what about her? But she has a drink problem. I suspect Pearson and Geary are behind it, giving their version of the accident, but I can't prove it. But that's dreadful. He'll be livid if he gets to hear of it.
Well, I certainly don't intend to tell him. Not about that. But he'll have to hear about this Jane Hillmore business. We can't keep that to ourselves.
And you wish to persist with this absurd explanation, Jane? Jane?
Yes, sir.
You stole, and that is the only word I can use, you stole a bottle of gin from your housemaster's study simply because you were curious to find out what it tasted like? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, but I don't believe you. I'll tell you what I think. You were put up to it, weren't you? By others. Were you bullied into it? Is that it? Well, is it? I understand that Pearson and Geary were about when this happened, and you did come back with them at the beginning of term. I know that you don't associate with them.
No, it was just me.
What is the point of protecting these people? They aren't worth it. Why should you take all the blame? Jane, if you refuse to cooperate, you make it difficult for us to help you. I think you need help. Mr. and Mrs. Quarry speak very highly of you. You have always worked hard, done your best, never been in any trouble. In fact, until now, you have been a credit to yourself, the college, and, of course, your parents. How do you think they are going to react to this news?
Well, you won't tell them so, will you?
If I could satisfy myself that you were put up to this, forced into it, then perhaps we could deal with it ourselves. But if you refuse, I'd rather not have to tell them, believe me. Come on, Jane, calm down. I expect we can sort something out. Oh, dear. Here, use my handkerchief.
Don't touch me.
What?
Don't touch me. Don't come near me.
Would you come in, please, Francis? At once. Please, stay here with Jane until she's calmed down. When she's pulled herself together, ask Mrs. Quarry to take her back to the house, will you? I'll discuss it with her later. I shall be with the chairman of the governors until lunch.
There was a call for you. It's important. Sergeant Court would like you to ring him.
Did he say what it was about?
He wouldn't tell me. He insisted on speaking to you.
That's it then, Mr. and Mrs. Royston. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Well, at least it's over. The uncertainty.
Is it, Hugh, really?
The coroner's just said you were totally exonerated. Death by misadventure.
Oh, why did they have to bring their other boy with them? I kept looking at him, thinking that if Billy had lived, he would have grown up to look like his brother.
Nothing's going to bring the lad back. But I promise, I'll go and see the family, if I can help in some way.
Yes, but the way she looked at me when I was giving evidence.
Sylvia, it won't be easy to forget this thing. It'll take time, but it really is over. And please, do make an effort not to brood. Please, darling, for both our sakes.
I will try, Hugh. I promise. I know I haven't been much help in the last few weeks. And I was so keen to be a model headmaster's wife.
You are, believe me. And things will be quite different now. There'll be plenty going on. The last half of the summer term is frantic. I shall need all the help you can give me.
Shut, John! If he keeps this up, we could win. It's the first time we've beaten the sixth form for years.
As long as he doesn't get carried away. He's nearly run their head out a couple of times already.
What fun that would be.
Yes, that would really be pistols at dawn stuff.
Have they always been, well, sort of what, Steve? Well, wary of each other.
Ah, you've noticed. You must be settling in.
John's been here for years, part of the furniture. I suppose you couldn't expect him to welcome all the changes Hugh has made.
Particularly as he was pretty confident of getting Hugh's job. More or less promised it, he says.
So why didn't he?
New chairman of the governors, Lord Penmerith.
Oh, he's here today. I was introduced to him.
Oh, yes. Takes a close interest in his chattels, does his lordship.
And he wanted someone from outside. A new broom, is that it?
So it appears. He's an enlightened Tory, a progressive peer.
Not the sort to appreciate John Quarry's fundamentalist views on education.
I see. Well, it's always wheels within wheels, isn't it?
You're learning, Steve. You're learning.
Oh, Lord, he's out. I'd better get my pads on.
You're not in for a long time yet.
There could be a sudden collapse.
Optimist?
I was hoping someone would bowl at me in the nets. Get my eye in.
Indeed, it could all depend on you, Steve.
Oh, don't.
I'll boil a few at you when you're padded up.
Thanks.
Oh, better bring a new box of balls.
Where are they kept?
Cupboard, in the groundsman's shed. Look, over there, where the mowers are.
Thanks, will do.
What's so funny?
Steve, he's still an innocent, isn't he? I suppose we must have been like that once.
Youthful enthusiasm.
How's he getting on? In the house?
Oh, he's keen enough, a bit naive, tends to believe the best of everybody, but that's hardly a fault.
There's another innocent.
What? Oh, well, at least she's back in circulation. Still looks very strained.
I don't suppose the poor thing had any idea what she was letting herself in for when Hugh swept her off her feet.
No, well, she's been unlucky, hasn't she? In that terrible accident, not her fault, of course, but I don't suppose Penmerith welcomed the publicity, the inquest, and so on. Then there's this Jane Hillmore business.
But that was all hushed up, wasn't it?
Oh, Hugh had to tell the governors before someone else did. You know what it's like here.
I see. No wonder she looks nervous. Poor little Sylvia.
Yes. We certainly can't afford any more trouble this term.
Drink, drugs, sex. Just the modern equivalent of wine, women, and song. Whereas our parents indulged in wine, women, and song. Not mine. What's this been adulterated with? Best quality, he told me. And at that price. I don't know why we bother. It does nothing for me. We bother, old friend, because if we didn't, we'd be like all the rest of them. Sheep. Pitiful, bleating sheep. Oh, cheer up. We've all but finished with this dump. A few more weeks. There's a small matter of A-levels. No problems. Wicked we may be, stupid we're not. And then 3 years of indolence at the taxpayer's expense. Women, booze. All the good things of life.
What the hell's going on here? I asked. You idiots. You think I don't recognise the smell? I haven't just come out of the ark, you know.
Please believe us, sir. We don't make a habit of it. It was just an experiment.
Where did you get it?
Not for anybody in the school. I give you my word on that.
Your word, Pearson. What value can I set on that?
Fair enough. I've been in trouble before. Both of us. Most of the time we've been here. But we're not liars. You can ask anybody.
Look, sir, we admit it was stupid. But we're not harming anybody else.
How much of this have you got?
There. Just what's in that tin. Really, that's all.
Please, sir, couldn't you just forget this happened?
Forget?
We're leaving after A-levels. In just a few weeks we'll be shot of Coriston for good. But if you report us now, it could muck everything up. University places, references for jobs, our whole future, really.
Well, shouldn't you have thought of that before?
Yes, we were stupid. But it's only pot, sir. You've just left university. A lot of people must have smoked it there.
That's not the point. I mean, you should understand how it is, sir. You're not like the rest of them. You're young.
I'm a member of staff at this school. I have responsibilities.
But no one need know. Look, it won't happen again, really. And it's only pot. Nothing really heavy.
I doubt if the headmaster would see it quite like that.
But you don't have to tell him, sir. Do you?
You give me your word that you've got no more.
Of course. You can search our studies.
You'll be gone before long. I don't want to feel that this incident would ruin the future for you. But I want your solemn promise that you'll have nothing more to do with drugs.
You have our word on that, Mr. Layton.
Don't make me regret my decision.
Oh, we won't, sir. You'll see.
Right. Now, get on out and watch the cricket.
Yes, sir.
Where we can all see you. Oh, I hope I know what I'm doing. Now, cricket balls.
Hello. Mark has got trapped by her parent. No net, I'm afraid.
Oh.
Wasn't that Pearson and Geary I saw coming out?
Yes.
They looked even more furtive than usual. What had they been up to, I wonder? Wait a minute. Were they smoking?
Yes, they were.
So what are you going to do?
Look, Paula, I need to tell someone. I may have just made a terrible mistake, but... Well, I think it would be over the top to make a huge scene out of this. You see,
Look, Steve, this is not just a prank.
Please let me explain my reasons. And, Paula, you must keep this just between us.
Oh, is it all over? Who won?
Still going on, Francis, but I think we can hold out for a draw. Have you seen my wife?
She's checking the place settings for dinner, I believe.
Oh, I see. Is everything in order?
I really can't say, Headmaster.
Oh, but I thought...
Mrs. Royston seemed to want to supervise everything personally.
Well, I'm sure she wanted to be a success, her first governor's dinner, but you have always...
Indeed. You always left the details to me. I did offer.
Yes. Anything important coming this afternoon?
I don't think so. Oh, yes. I've typed up Paula's reference for you to sign.
Oh, well, thank you.
Can't imagine why she wants to go to Australia.
Perhaps you should ask her.
Well, she's a good friend, but she's never really confided in me.
I suppose she's been here for some time and she's looking for promotion. Well, that looks fine.
But Australia...
She has a brother in Sydney, I believe.
Even so.
Not everyone is as devoted to Coriston as you.
Francis, did you...
Hello, darling. How are you getting on?
Fine.
It's just the flowers don't seem to have arrived.
Really?
Well, shouldn't they be here by now? I have to do the table arrangement.
What time did you order them for?
But I didn't. I assumed...
Assumed?
I thought you would see to the flowers. Hugh said you always... Oh, dear. Is it too late? Can I...
There's no need. I took the precaution of ringing the florist this morning. He said he'd deliver this afternoon. I'll go and check at the lodge. Excuse me.
Well done, Francis.
Bitch.
Sylvia, oh, that's hard.
She knew all the time. She was just enjoying it, humiliating me.
No, that's not fair. She was just being efficient.
Oh, and I suppose I wasn't.
I didn't mean that. You're doing marvellously. But I know it can't be easy for you. We're trying to get the hang of this place.
I don't know if I ever will, Hugh. If I can.
Of course you will.
Those who don't resent me either pity me or patronize
I'm
me.
sure that's not the case. It's just that it takes...
Time? Is that it? But how much? How much time do they need?
Remember, the purpose of this trial exam, ladies and gentlemen, is to reproduce the exact conditions you will meet in the real thing in a couple of weeks' time. So we will follow all the procedures. Therefore, I will inform you when you have 30 minutes left. Right, you may now turn the papers over and begin.
Rock-a-bye, baby.
Quiet.
Top when
Who is making that ridiculous noise? Jane, what's the matter with you?
Oh.
Are you ill, Jane? What's wrong?
It's far from well to me, sir. What do you think, Terry? Very under the weather, I'd say.
All right, shut up, you two. And the rest of you. Good God, Jane, are you all right? Quiet, everyone! Quiet, I say!
I'm sorry, Hugh, but I feel desperately upset for the poor child. She's been worried to death for the last few weeks. She's overwhelmed with guilt.
I wish I could feel as charitable, Helen.
She's an innocent Hugh. If she was the brazen sort, I'd feel differently. I know it's an old-fashioned thing to say, but someone has taken advantage of her.
I suppose there's no doubt the doctor was certain.
Either Jane has an abortion or she's going to have a baby.
Have you told the parents yet?
Francis is trying to contact them now to get them up here. It's not the sort of news you can break over the telephone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how did we allow a girl to get hold of alcohol twice within a few weeks? It doesn't say much for our pastoral care, does it?
I hope you're not implying that Helen and I have been negligent.
Well, she is in your house, John.
But that's hardly fair. For heaven's sake, it happens from time to time. There's no proof that one of our boys is the father. It could have happened in the holidays.
She refuses to say anything about it. I've tried.
We could still get an enormous amount of adverse publicity out of this. Failure to exercise proper supervision.
I'm sorry, but I don't see what more we could have...
Where did she get hold of the gin this time?
Yesterday afternoon, in an English lesson, Paula sent her to get a book from her room, and she took it then. Paula's very upset about it, but she's sure her drink was locked away.
Oh, it's not her fault. I suppose I'm to blame as much as anybody.
But why?
The last time, when she was in here...
What?
She was in some distress, crying. I tried to comfort her. She shied away, hysterically.
Oh, you never said.
Didn't I?
No, you didn't. Oh, Hugh.
Come in.
Headmaster, I've managed to contact the parents. They'll be here at 2:00.
Thank you. John, I'd like you and Helen here as well.
Yes, very well.
I'll see all her stuff is packed ready.
Thank you.
Headmaster, I wonder if I might have a word.
Yes, of course.
This is very difficult for me, betraying a confidence. But in the circumstances...
Yes?
You know the feelings I have for the school, Headmaster.
I know you always act in our interest, and I respect your judgment absolutely. So, what is it you would like to tell me?
This has not been a good term, has it? There have been, well, a number of difficulties.
Indeed.
Of course, I'm only the school secretary, and perhaps matters of school discipline are no concern of mine, but in the present circumstances, I didn't feel, in all honesty, that I could remain silent, knowing what I do.
Which is?
Well, Paula is one of the few members of staff I could call more than just an acquaintance. Not a close friend, perhaps, but we get on well together.
Yes, so I understand.
Well, she feels very guilty that it was her drink that Jane Hillmore stole.
Oh, she needn't. I know about that. It could have happened to anyone. If that's what's worrying her, you can reassure her
It's
that...
not just that. She realizes that the school can hardly stand another scandal. Drink, pregnancy, they're all bad enough. But drugs.
Drugs?
Yes. I gather at the time she was prepared to give an inexperienced colleague the benefit of the doubt. But in the light of recent events, well, her conscience has troubled her. She needed to confide in someone. I suppose I am now betraying that confidence. But there is such a thing as duty, isn't there?
Inexperience? You showed a total lack of ordinary common sense. Didn't you realize you had a duty to file a full report?
I confiscated what they had. They swore that was all. I thought that as they were soon leaving,
In a
it
school
might...
of this kind, as you should have realized, we cannot afford a breath of scandal. The press always devours stories of public school depravity, or hadn't you noticed?
Well, I just thought that...
No, the trouble is you didn't think.
I can only say I'm sorry, Headmaster.
That's all very well. But I have to say the incident raises serious doubts as to your suitability for a school of this kind. As you know, your position is a probationary one.
And you won't be making it permanent? Am I right?
I'm sorry, but I think it would be wise for you to look elsewhere.
I have to say, I think you're overreacting, Headmaster. Perhaps it was an error of judgment to trust the boys, but I...
Yes? I see. I was afraid of that. Yes, at once, please. Both of them. That was Mr. Joyner. I asked him to search the boys' rooms. It seems, as I suspected, that your trust was seriously misplaced.
I'm telling the truth. It's not ours.
You told Mr. Leighton you had no more. You told your housemaster you
It
had
was true,
no...
sir. We didn't.
And how do you explain this?
Someone must have planted it.
Please, don't insult my intelligence. I simply don't believe you, either of you.
That's your privilege, sir.
And don't be insolent, Pearson. It won't help you.
Sir, all we've done is smoke a few joints on school property.
All you've done. That alone is illegal.
Yes, but it's not exactly a major crime these days. It's not like trading in heroin or robbing a bank.
That will do.
Or having a little too much to drink and running someone over with a minibus.
I warn you,
We were
Mary.
there. Remember? We know.
How dare you?
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean...
There is no point in further discussion. I propose to expel you both from Coriston forthwith. I shall telephone your parents immediately.
But now? At this stage? I mean, what about our A-levels? University?
That is no longer my concern.
But it's not fair, not for what we did.
As I said, there is no point in further discussion. You will wait in your studies until your parents...
If you do this, if you expel us, we won't take...
You have no choice. Now, will you both...
We'll get back at you. You and this rotten bloody school.
Geary!
I don't think that we can't. You'll see!
I'm very glad you could join me.
Well, honestly, I haven't played for ages.
Can you spare a moment?
Well, we're just about to go on court.
It is important, darling.
Do you mind, Sylvia?
Well, actually, it's both of you that we'd like to talk to, isn't it, Mark?
Yes, if we may.
I hope you two haven't come with more bad news. An hour with Jane's parents was pretty depressing, I can tell you.
Let's sit down, shall we?
Ah, that tone means you have. So?
Pearson and Geary.
Yes, I heard. Well, what's happening to them? Gated? Suspended until A-levels?
No. Hugh is expelling them.
But surely... I mean, that's ridiculous. I'm sorry, Sylvia, that's not very fair. It sounds as if I'm getting at Hugh.
I'm sure you're not, but perhaps I should leave you to...
No, if you don't mind. We'd like to ask for your help.
Mine?
Yes. To intercede with your husband.
On behalf of the boys? Well, I would if I thought it would help, but why should you listen to me? I'm not really in a position.
I've spoken to Pearson and Geary. They're confined to the house until their parents arrive. I think your husband may have been provoked by a very thoughtless and stupid remark one of them made. It was said in the heat of the moment, not meant.
What remark?
When they lose their cool, boys say things, stupid things. One should try not to pay too much attention.
But what remark? Please tell me what he said, please.
They were suggesting you were drunk. They made vile accusations. Surely you realize that.
Oh, Hugh, they were only repeating what everyone else has been saying. Did you think I was unaware of it? You may think I'm a little naive.
Sylvia, I've made my decision. I don't need to apologize or explain to anyone.
Not even to me.
I'm sorry, but this is a matter for my professional judgment. It's a question of what's best for the school.
Damn, Coriston. All you can ever think of is the school. What you ought to be thinking about is the future of those boys and that poor girl. Have you done what's best for them? Or have you just got rid of them because they might damage the good name of Coriston College?
That's enough, Sylvia. There's no point in this. It's been a difficult term, but it's nearly over. We'll take a long holiday, and when we come back...
When we come back, Coriston will still be here.
Sylvia, when you married me, you knew this was my world.
Yes, your world. But I'm not sure it's mine.
Francis, ask John to take the last assembly for me, would you?
Oh, isn't that rather...
Lord Penmerith rang last night. He wants to see me. I dare say I shall be with him most of the morning.
Hardly the most convenient time.
I didn't think it prudent to argue the way things are.
I see.
Oh, and tell John I'll check with him later. Make sure there'll be no last-minute disasters. Is there anything needs my attention here at the moment?
The Oxford Conference organisers want to know if you and Mrs. Royston will join them for dinner tomorrow after your talk.
No, I don't think so. I'll have to come straight back here. Can you make our excuses, Francis?
Right.
Oh, by the way, how is the move going?
Oh, Paula expects to be out in the next couple of weeks, and then I shall move into her cottage. Mrs. Royston still away, is she?
Yes, another day or two, I dare say.
Oh, dear. Her aunt no better then.
Not much, it seems. Anything important in the mail?
No, mostly routine stuff that will keep. Oh, one marked personal for you. Actually, if you'll forgive me saying so, it looks rather like your wife's handwriting.
Oh.
News about her sick aunt, I dare say.
Yes, I expect so. I'll be in the study, finishing off reports. Let me know as soon as Penmerith arrives, will you? Dear Hugh, I hope this won't come as too much of a shock, but I've decided to stay away from Coriston. I expect you can guess why. I need more time to sort out what I really think about us. All I am sure of is that at the moment I can't stand any more of the school. Please don't try to find me. I promise I'll be in touch when I am more certain of my feelings. All my love, Sylvia. Oh, God.
It's so peaceful now. Be a lovely place without the kids, wouldn't it?
They went off all right anyway.
Oh, good as gold.
At least something went smoothly. Perhaps I should have brought Penmerith and all his troop of school governors out to watch the departure. Convince him I could do something right.
Bad, was it?
Not good. I thought for a moment you were about to see your wish come true.
What wish?
Oh, come on, John. It's not a secret, is it? You must have been a very disappointed man when I arrived here.
Oh, yes, I suppose I was. But I've long ago got over that.
I wonder.
Hugh, I've never done anything
Why didn't you tell me you'd made arrangements for Pearson and Geary to take their A-levels at another school?
Oh, I see. That. But the parents contacted me in great distress. It was a fairly simple administrative matter.
Which you didn't want to bother me with.
No, all right. I backed my own judgment. But you know what I felt about the expulsion.
Well, as it turned out, you did me a good turn. It seems the parents were going to make a great issue out of it. Demand a meeting with the governors and so on. Your simple administrative matter spared me that.
Oh, well, good.
It's nice to know one still has some friends.
I'm sure you have many.
Yes. But, John, who hates me enough to want to destroy me?
Hates you? That's a bit strong, isn't it?
Is it? Read that.
Good grief. This is just filth. Stupid obscenity. Where did it come from?
Sent anonymously to Lord Penmerith.
But he didn't believe it, surely.
No, I don't think he did. He told me to tear it up. Well, maybe he'd had moments of doubt about appointing a middle-aged bachelor as head, but I don't suppose he seriously considered me to be... Well, what that letter suggests.
People who write this sort of stuff should be...
Charming, isn't it? The headmaster is a dirty old man. If he can get us girls alone...
Forget it, Hugh. Do as he says. Tear it up. It's rubbish.
You're right.
Come on. First day of the holidays tomorrow, your conference in Oxford, a civilized occasion. You'll see it all differently.
Do your belt up.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for stopping. There ain't much traffic. A lorry driver offered me a lift, but, well, I didn't think it was a very good idea.
Quite right. You really shouldn't be hitchhiking at all. How old are you?
15. My mum would have to kill me if she knew.
Then why are you?
I didn't have a choice. My purse was nicked.
Oh, where?
I got the bus from Reading to Oxford this morning. I was going to do a bit of shopping, buy my aunt a present.
Your aunt?
Yeah, she lives in Coriston. I'm going to see her. Her name's Gail, too. Do you know her?
No, I don't think so. So, your name is Gail?
That's right. Moira Gale.
And you lost your purse?
Yeah. I bought this scarf, see? I remember putting the bits of change in my pocket, and then when I went to get a coffee, I hadn't got my purse. So I went back to the scarf counter, but the girl couldn't find it. She looked everywhere. Someone must have nicked it.
So you had no money for the bus?
Just a bit of change. And that got me to Woodstock, and I walked from there.
You were lucky I came along. The Coriston Road is fairly quiet.
Yeah, it was. Thanks. Do you live in Coriston?
Close by, at the college.
At posh school? Oh, sorry. You a teacher, then?
Yeah.
Thought you were.
Really? Why?
The way you sort of told me off for hitchhiking.
Ah, I see. Well, it is a bit stupid.
What subject do you teach?
Actually, I'm the headmaster.
Oh. We've got a headmistress. She's a real pain.
It's not easy, you know, being a head these days. As I've just been telling 300 of them in a lecture. You see, Moira...
Could you stop, please? Quickly.
What is it?
I feel sick. Sorry.
Oh, dear.
I'm sorry. It's so stupid. Oh, I'd better get out.
You all right?
I feel a bit faint. I need some air.
Here, just walk about a bit. Come on. I'll take you.
Let go of me. Let go.
Moira, what's the matter with you?
Get away. Help.
For God's sake, girl.
Detective Superintendent Thornton. Yes, sir, Sergeant Abbott is with me. He has all the details, such as they are. It isn't quite the sort of thing I'd be expecting to deal with. I see, very good. I'll let you know as soon as I've formed a judgment. Of course, as soon as possible. Attempted rape on the Coriston Road, that's all we've got. I thought we were meant to be part of this serious crime squad.
Yeah, I know, sir, but it seems the chairman of the school governors and the chief constable are good friends.
In the same Masonic lodge, I expect. Forget I said that, Sergeant.
Never heard a syllable, sir.
Well, I suppose if the police authority can spare a superintendent and a sergeant for a spin in the Cotswolds on such a lovely sunny day, why should we complain?
Quite so.
I may have several unsolved serious crimes I should be investigating, but if the chief constable chooses to do a favour for an old chum, ours not to reason why, Abbott.
I suppose it is a bit unusual, this case.
Really? Unusual? What's unusual about indecent assault? Do you ever read the papers, Abbott?
No, I mean Royston being a headmaster.
Crippen was a doctor.
A lot of wealthy people send their kids to Corriston.
Oh, I see. So, of course, that makes this grubby little case special. Needs a detective superintendent to unravel it. English justice is open to all, like the writs. Who said that, Abbott?
No one I know, sir.
No, I don't suppose so, Abbott. Well, we'd better get on with it. The chief constable wants rapid results. Do the local Nick know we're coming?
Yes, sir. A Sergeant Court. He'll be looking out for us.
There you are, sir. 2 coffee, sugar and milk ready.
Oh.
Oh, sorry, sir. I just assumed it. Shall I get fresh?
Never mind, Sergeant. I don't suppose it will kill me. Not quite, anyway.
We didn't expect you to be coming down, sir. Not an affair of this kind.
Neither did I. Well, drink up, Abbott.
Yes. Very nice.
As you know, sir, these cases are usually impossible to prove. One party's word against another.
But there were witnesses. Isn't that right?
That's right. People in the car that stopped.
Reliable?
Oh, local people, decent folk, they swear that if they'd not come along, he'd have had her.
Really?
They brought her straight here.
And you contacted the girl's aunt?
Oh, that's it. I'm the police doctor.
And where was our headmaster during all this?
Oh, well, he just drove off. I went to see him later.
Yes, I've seen your report. Denied everything, of course.
Oh, said the girl suddenly flew at him.
You believe him?
I don't know what to believe.
The police doctor found no evidence of sexual assault, just a little minor facial bruising.
True, but the girl was very distressed.
And there's the evidence of the witnesses.
Indeed. Decent folk, the sergeant tells us.
They'd have no reason to dish the dirt on Royston, would they?
Well, Sergeant, would they?
No, not really.
What do you mean, not really?
Well, I'm sure they saw what they said they saw. But I suppose they might have assumed the worst, jumped to the wrong conclusion, the way things have been.
The way what things have been?
A small place like this, you always get a lot of gossip. And there's been a bit of jealousy of the college, a lot of money around up there.
So what has the local gossip been saying?
Well, first there was the accident. Mrs. Sylvia Royston, his new wife, much younger than him. She was driving the school minibus and knocked down Billy Morton, little lad in the village. He died.
But not her fault?
No, but that didn't stop the ill feeling.
You said first there was the accident. What else subsequently?
Well, nothing that's come to us officially.
But?
The gossip says there's been problems with drugs, drink, a pregnant sixth former, and certainly a couple of boys were expelled.
Sounds more like Grange Hill.
Oh, yeah. Royston could tell you more.
Yes, I suppose we'll need to know all about that, although I can't see at the moment it could have a bearing on this business. But I can't see much sense in any of it, to be frank.
Perhaps when we've seen the girl.
Yes. You've arranged that, Sergeant?
Her aunt will bring her here this afternoon, sir. 2:00.
Right. That gives us time for a decent lunch.
I'll take you up to the canteen, sir.
Thank you, but I think not. I've taken up enough of your valuable time, Sergeant. No, I saw a pub just across the road. I dare say we'll get a spot of lunch there. Give us a chance to think over what you've told us. Eh, Abbott?
Definitely, sir. Definitely. That was very nice, sir. Homemade, I'd say.
A better bet than their canteen, I think.
I must say, I quite fancy a spell as a country copper.
Well, no shortage of action. Drugs, drink, rape makes Oxford seem like toy town.
Makes the case a bit more interesting, though, doesn't it?
Possibly. If there's any connection.
Do you think there might be?
Well, that raises the perennial problem of criminal detection.
Does it, sir?
Does there always have to be a linked chain of events?
Well, things just don't happen, do they?
But random chance, the bolt from the blue, and coincidence. What about coincidence? Do you believe in that, Abbott?
Well, up to a point, but...
Let me put this to you. I'm chasing a wanted villain, and police forces throughout the land are looking for him, right?
Right.
What would be the odds against him sitting 2 seats in front of me on the Headington bus?
Oh, I don't know. 1,000,000 to 1, I suppose.
Quite. But it happened. A couple of years ago.
So what you're saying...
What I'm saying is that random chance, the long shot, the unexpected coincidence have a part to play in the solution of crime.
And in this case,
I think we'd better assume nothing until we've met the opposing party.
Until we've spoken to the girl?
Until I've spoken to the girl.
Sorry.
Your role is far more important, Abbott.
Really, sir?
Indeed. Watch her reactions very closely as I question her. Body language. Know about that?
Yes, sir. I went on the same course, if you remember.
Splendid.
It's getting on for 2, sir. Our aunt's bringing her in. I think we ought to...
Just time for coffee, I think. Proper coffee this time. Drinkable coffee. Look, Maura, I'm sorry to have to ask you to go over this again, but I'm sure you understand why I need to. It's a very serious crime.
I told the other man everything.
I know, I've read what you said. But I need to clarify one or two things. Will you help me?
All right.
Good. You say in your statement here that Mr. Royston made no attempt to touch you or say anything offensive while you were in the car. Is that right?
Yes.
So why did you get out?
I felt sick. Car sick.
Do you suffer from car sickness?
Must do, mustn't I? And I've been standing in the sun. The road was all twisty, I suppose.
And Mr. Royston got out as well?
Yeah. I thought he was just seeing if I was okay.
But he wasn't?
No. He said something. I don't remember what. And then he put his hand here. And then he started dragging me down the grass bank.
And naturally you resisted?
I tried to get him to leave go. I scratched him, I think. I was kicking and biting, but he was so strong.
And then the other car came along?
Yeah. I was lucky. It's a quiet road. If they hadn't, he would have...
I'm sorry, Maura. That's all I need to ask you. You've been very brave, but you do realise that these questions have to be asked if we are to discover the truth.
Second right, court said. Oh, there it is. Coriston College, 1.5 miles.
She'd make a good witness, Abbott. No doubt about that.
I was impressed. Not the tarty sort.
Quite. If it came to court, she'd convince a jury, all right.
Did she convince you?
She certainly stayed with her story. No deviation from her original statement.
Which means?
Either it happened the way she said, or she's an unashamed and well-briefed little liar.
But what would be the point?
Would you have given her a lift, Abbott?
Me? Oh,
Why not? Pretty enough, isn't she?
Oh, now, come on, sir.
Don't delude yourself. Few of us would have left a winsome little thing like that standing at the roadside.
Yeah, perhaps not.
So why did you hesitate?
Because I'm a copper. I know the dangers.
Dangers?
Well, not for the girl, not with me. But she could say anything. Make wild accusations, blackmail. It's a common dodge.
Indeed. So why did Royston stop?
Could have been quite innocent.
Of course, you could argue that as a concerned and responsible citizen, he picked her up to keep her out of the clutches of someone less virtuous.
But on the other hand...
Quite. Left here. But for the moment, Abbott, you seem to go along with the girl.
I think so.
You were watching her closely? Reactions? Mannerisms?
Oh, yes, sir. Reactions seemed natural, honest. Of course, she was tense. You'd expect that. I did wonder...
What?
Now, she was very cut up when you took her through the incident itself. Well, she would be, that's understandable. But before that, she seemed to be relaxing, almost relieved.
Perhaps I'd won her confidence, Abbott. It has been known.
Of course, it could have been that.
But?
Well, I wondered if she was expecting you to ask some awkward questions which never materialised.
Maybe. If I'd known what they were, I'd have asked them like a shot. Did you notice the gold necklet?
Yes, I did. Yeah, but lots of people wear them these days.
Not cheap, though, was it?
Good quality, I thought.
Present?
No idea. Could be, I suppose. Perhaps she saved up for it from the Saturday job.
At £1 an hour? I wonder.
Sir?
Yes?
The girl. Would you have stopped for her?
Me? I'm old enough to be her father.
So is Royston.
Yes, he is. Isn't he?
Well, here we are. Oh, impressive.
Imposing Victorian Gothic. There's the sign. School office and inquiries.
All right.
If I remember my detective stories correctly, the head secretary should be a fount of all knowledge. Talk to her, particularly about the troubles this term.
She didn't sound very forthcoming on the telephone. Bit of a dragon.
Characteristic of the breed. But you'll charm it out of her, I'm sure. She'll have missed nothing. I like that in these schools. Park here.
It says reserved for the chairman of the governors.
I'm sure his lordship would wish us to use it.
You seem to know a lot about these sort of places, sir.
I don't suppose they've changed much in 30 years. What are you grinning at, Sergeant?
Nothing. No. I just hadn't got you down as a public school man, sir.
I don't know whether to be flattered or offended by your observation. Come on.
And there's still no sign of her. You'd have thought she'd be by his side at a time like this.
Quite. Terrible for Hugh.
Well, you must be looking forward to getting away from it all.
I'm not sure. I feel a bit like a rat leaving the proverbial sinking ship.
You'll be well out of it. I said the same to Steve Layton this morning.
Oh, is Steve still here? I thought after he was sacked...
No. He telephoned. He's got several interviews and needs references. The head's been as tactful as possible.
Oh, good. I feel awful about that business.
You did what was right, Paula.
Maybe, but I hardly imagined Hugh would expel the boys and sack Steve.
Yes, it was all most unfortunate.
Poor you. right in the thick of it. You ought to take a week or two off. I'm getting on quite well clearing out the cottage. You should be able to move in by the end of the month. I'm certainly looking forward to it. Oh, dear. 10 o'clock. That'll be those awful policemen. Right. I'll just collect my mail and get out of the way. Call in for a cup of tea if you can get out to the cottage later.
I assure you, Superintendent, sex was the last thing on my mind. I thought she was ill, went to help her, and she flung herself at me. I was surprised how strong she was, slip of a girl like that.
It was quite a struggle, according to the witnesses.
I can see how it must have looked. I tried to explain, but they wouldn't listen to a word I said.
So you just drove away?
Yes. But you see, I was shocked, angry. I kept on asking myself, why did she do it? Why me?
And your answer?
I don't have one. Well, the girl couldn't have known I'd be on that road at that particular time.
Who might have known?
Well, no one for certain.
But surely people at the school would have known you were at the conference, your secretary, colleagues, and so on.
Yes, of course. Staff, and even some pupils, I suppose, if they'd care to inquire.
And your wife, I imagine?
No, probably not my wife. She's away at the moment.
Oh. But you've been in touch, told her about this business?
No, I didn't want to alarm her.
Oh. Anyway, there were plenty of people who knew you might be on your way back from Oxford about that time.
Well, yes, but not this Moira Gale, Superintendent.
I suppose not.
It must just have been random chance. Luck, bad luck.
That's one of the explanations.
Oh, what else is there? Oh, John suggested it was because I was driving an expensive car.
The white Mercedes outside, right?
Yes. When she found out I was a headmaster, perhaps I seemed a likely candidate for a spot of blackmail.
And who is John?
What? Oh, John Quarry, my deputy.
Obviously you've told him about...
Yes, he and his wife. Oh, they're not just colleagues, but friends, good friends.
So who else knows?
Half of Coriston by now. But I've only told Francis, my secretary.
And Lord Penmareth. You must have told him.
Yes. You can imagine what that was like, so soon after that obscene letter.
What letter? Tell me about this letter, sir.
A real can of worms. Once I got her talking, she couldn't stop. Oh, dear, that's one very bitter lady.
And she blames Mrs. Royston for everything.
Totally unsuited to be a headmaster's wife. Really no more than a child. Completely destroyed the head's judgment, and so on.
And where is the missing young lady, did she know?
No, but she obviously smelled several rats. I reckon she's given Royston the old heave-ho.
Oh, poor chap, more bad news.
I suppose all the trouble and his wife running off. Well, it could have driven him over the edge, couldn't it?
Executive stress, attempted rape whilst the balance of the mind was disturbed. That's your theory?
Well, it had been one hell of a term for him. One crisis after another.
Quite. One coincidence after another.
What, sir?
Do we have a mess, or do we have a plot, Abbott?
I don't know, sir.
No. Perhaps Mr. Quarry will be able to help us. Excuse me.
Yes?
Mr. Quarry, is it?
I've nothing to say to you.
I beg your pardon.
There's no story, and if you dare to print
We're
one,
not
but...
the press, Mr. Quarry. There you are.
Sir. Superintendent, is it?
Sorry to interrupt you.
Well, you better come inside.
That won't be necessary. Just a couple of things perhaps you could clear up.
Well, you might as well know before you begin. I believe every word that you, Mr. Royston, has told me about this wretched business. Why that girl should have told those appalling lies, I can't imagine. But lies, they certainly were.
Your loyalty does you credit, Mr. Quarry.
It's not a question of loyalty, Superintendent. I know the man.
You also know, then, that there have been accusations precisely...
What are you talking about?
Mr. Royston was very frank with me. I know about the anonymous letter. Apart from Lord Penmareth, I believe you were the only person he confided in at the time.
Yes, but that's...
Did you tell your wife?
I trust her completely. We have no secrets.
So you did tell her? Not a good place for secrets, is it, Coriston?
Now, look
If,
here.
as a result of this unfortunate business, Mr. Royston were to be dismissed, do you imagine you might be appointed in his place, Mr. Quarry?
Do I have to take this? I'm not stupid, you know. I know...
Only a question, Mr. Quarry. One must face reality. I imagine the school would feel fortunate to have an experienced man to summon to the bridge, so to speak, but we must hope it doesn't come to that, mustn't we?
I don't think I can help you any further, Superintendent.
Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Now, perhaps you can point us in the right direction for... Where is it, Abbott?
Tarbit House, sir.
Mark Joyner's house. I believe he's still in school.
Hello? Someone there? Who is it? Sylvia.
Hello, Hugh.
darling, I've been so worried.
Yes, I'm sorry, Hugh, but I couldn't take any more.
Oh, it's all right. You're back. That's all that matters.
I do love you, Hugh. I know that now. It was a terrible thing I did walking out.
Oh, we'll forget it. All of it. It was mostly my fault. I get so wrapped up in this place. But I need to change things, I promise.
No, don't change. I don't want that. I just needed to grow up.
Look, we'll celebrate. Go out, have a meal.
No, let's just stay in, the two of us.
Right. A drink, then. A welcome home drink?
Yes, why not?
A double, I think.
Hugh.
Yes?
I know about the girl.
How? Who told
And I know it's not true, Hugh. Any of it. Not one single word.
I have to confess, Abbott, it's been an interesting day. All that seething, claustrophobic resentment bottled up behind the ivy-clad walls.
Oh, very well phrased, sir.
Yes.
Royston certainly has plenty of enemies.
One of the burdens of command, Abbott. I know the feeling.
There must be half a dozen people who had a motive for getting at him.
At least half a dozen. John Quarry, who wants his job and always has done. Perhaps Mrs. Quarry, ambitious on her husband's behalf. The secretary has had her nose put out of joint by the new wife. Who does that leave us with?
That other housemaster chap, Joyner, he was still pretty cheesed off about his boys being expelled.
Quite. And then there's the boys themselves. Nasty pieces of work by the sound of them. They could have set him up. And don't forget the pregnant girl. Or at least her parents. They must have been pretty sick with Royston.
Just like the people in the village.
Which still leaves us with the sacked French teacher, Steve Layton.
And the English teacher we met in the office. She's off down under.
You don't have to have a criminal record to go there these days. Certainly a long list, isn't it?
But unless we could find a connection between someone on the list and Moira, there's no basis for a conspiracy.
Quite. Oh, yes, the answer, if there is one, would lie with Moira. We'd need to know much more about her. It would have been quite intriguing following it up.
Would have been?
Well, you don't imagine I can spend any more time on this case. The girl isn't going to press charges, too distressing for her. And without independent testimony, the Crown won't prosecute.
So we'll never know whether it was just a chance encounter, whether he did assault her.
Or whether he was the object of someone's vengeance.
The Chief Constable isn't going to be best pleased with that, is he? Oh, Lord, whatever his name is.
He wanted my professional judgment, which is that without devoting more time and resources than we have available for such a case, the matter will remain unresolved. If he doesn't like it, he can do the other thing. It may sound cynical, Abbott, but the crime isn't serious enough to take up any more of our time.
It's all right. I'm here. Good morning. Coruscant School Headmaster speaking. What? Have you got the right... Who are you? I don't think... Very well. I'm listening. Yes. At noon? Yes, I'll be there. You can be sure of that. But who the hell... Hello? Hello?
Who was it, Jim?
Oh, no one. Just a wrong number.
Come on. Come on. Oh. You came then? I thought you would. So, you brought the money, I hope. You better have. Oh.
I don't think I shall ever get used to these places.
No, there's something so pathetic about it all. A young girl, that's all she is, Abbott.
Poor kid.
It wouldn't have taken much force to choke the life out of her. You can see the marks on the throat.
Death by manual strangulation, you say?
Yes, but as to time of death, that sort of thing, we've had to wait for their tests to know that.
Thank you. Come along, Abbott, let's go.
Looks as if it had to be Royston, doesn't it?
Possibly.
But from what we know, the body was found by a chap out walking his dog. This chap reckons he was passed by a flash white car driven by a man.
He wasn't sure of the make of the car.
No, but forensic have identified a set of tyre tracks. They're pretty certain it was a Merc.
What did I miss, Abbott?
Miss?
I never saw murder in this one. If I had, perhaps Moira would strike.
There was no suggestion, sir. It all seemed over and done with.
Last night I was complaining this crime was too trivial for me.
Bit of a sick joke now, isn't it?
You'll be bringing Royston in then, sir?
Not yet. He can't hide. We know where he is. No. First, we're going to Reading.
Reading, sir?
I want to know much more about Moira Gale. She wouldn't tell us when she was alive.
Wouldn't tell us? What do you mean?
She was playing a game with us, Abbott, and not just with us.
But we don't know that. You said so. She might have been a totally innocent party.
But that kid in there has been murdered, Abbott. That changes everything, don't you see?
No, not really.
The fruitfulness of paradox. I could believe Moira alive to be a harmless kid, a victim, but Moira dead is quite a different matter. She provoked someone enough to murder her. There's no doubt, Abbott, the poor thing was partly the architect of her own destruction.
Trying to blackmail Hugh Royston, you mean?
It's a strong probability, I agree. But there are other scenarios. Royston is an intelligent man.
So was Crippen.
Point taken. But why should he lure Moira to some remote spot to murder her and then advertise his presence by driving to and from the scene of the crime in a distinctive vehicle known to everyone in Coriston? Doesn't make sense.
But I don't suppose he meant to murder her. They don't usually, do they? Just get carried away, panic.
Perhaps. Maybe I'm being too fanciful. Come on, let's get out of this place. I dare say we'll learn more when we get to Reading.
There you are, sir. That's your room. We haven't touched anything.
I'm sorry we had to intrude at a time like this. It's very good of you to see us, with your wife unwell, too.
She's taken it very bad.
Of course. We shan't need to disturb her, but we do need your assistance.
Yes, anything I can do to nail the devil.
If you don't mind, we'll need to look through Moira's things, letters, diaries. There might be something.
Well, you carry on, but I don't know if it'll be much help. She didn't have much of a social life set up here a lot of the time, really.
No boyfriends? Parties? Discos? That sort of thing?
Well, she wasn't interested in any of that.
No? My daughter's room's plastered with posters of pop stars.
But not Moira's. Just these travel posters. Where did she get these from, Mr. Gale?
A Guernsey school trip last Easter.
Did she enjoy it?
I think so.
Think?
Well, she never told us much, but I think it must have made an impression on her.
Why do you say that?
It was her first time away from us, and it's sort of abroad, isn't it? Well, further than the wife and I have ever been. We asked her all about it, but she sort of clammed up. We thought she might have found a boyfriend.
Really?
Well, she was definitely more moody, touchy.
It's often a sign, in my experience.
But she never mentioned a boy or met one as far as you know?
No, I'm sure we'd have known. She didn't go out to meet him anyway.
Can you be sure?
Well, she was only ever out on Saturdays at the job. Oh, I suppose I'll have to tell Mr. Brandon at the bookshop.
There's no need. I'll arrange for one of my officers to call there and at the school.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
Well, perhaps we'd better start to look through...
If there's any letters or anything, they'll be in her desk.
Is it locked?
No. She didn't need to lock anything. We never interfered, poked our noses.
I'm sure. I'd say Moira couldn't have asked for better.
We did our best. We give her opportunities without some bastard.
We'll find him, Mr. Gale. Be sure of that. Right, Abbott, if you start with the wardrobe, I'll have a...
Look, I'm sorry, do you mind if I leave you to it? I don't think I could...
Of course. If we need to take anything away, we'll give you receipts.
Oh, take what you want. She'll never need them again, will she? I'll just look in on the wife, make sure she's asleep. They gave us some tablets.
Of course.
I'll be downstairs if you need me.
Poor devil. Decent sort, sir, wouldn't you say?
Very. Bit odd, though, wasn't it?
What?
I got the feeling he was talking about a lodger rather than a daughter.
Oh, I don't know. Still in a state of shock.
Right, let's get on.
Right.
Tidy, girl. No clutter.
It's some very smart gear here, sir. It's expensive looking.
Really? Probably saved up from the Saturday job.
Yeah, I suppose so, but... Yeah, look at this.
More of them.
Well, what?
Cuttings. Magazine articles. All about the royal family.
Yeah, there are pictures in a book here, too. Princess Di, Fergie, all of them. It's a bit unusual in a teenager, isn't it?
Now, this is really odd. Come over here a moment, Abbott.
What's that, sir?
This tin box in the drawer was hidden by all the cuttings.
What about it, sir?
Locked.
Oh.
Well, Abbott, what do you think she wanted to keep from prying eyes?
Money?
Well, I'm afraid we'll have to find out. There'll be a key somewhere.
What they usually do is sellotape it somewhere out of sight. Here we are, sir.
I'm impressed, Sergeant. Now, let's see. I don't know if this is going to help much, but... just... wait a minute. This is not at all what I expected.
I know she saved bits and bobs from her job and what we gave her, but £400? Where did you get that?
The passbook shows several sizable entries. £50 in January, 175 in March, another £100 just a week or so ago.
How could she... Did you say 175? When was that?
The 10th of the 3rd, March this year. Have you remembered something? Something that might explain where she got this sort of money?
So it was her. I thought so, but I didn't want to believe it. Put it out of my mind. I suppose I shouldn't say it, but I never did trust her. Never sure about her from the beginning. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean, but...
What didn't you want to believe, Mr. Gale?
Would you like a cup of tea?
No, thank you. What didn't you want to believe?
My wage packet went missing. Just before Easter it was. I could have sworn I brought it home, but in the end the wife persuaded me I must have lost it at work or something.
And it was about that amount?
That's what I get, £175.
Just before Easter, sir? That would be before Moira's trip to Guernsey. Perhaps she needed some new clothes.
She didn't need anything. We gave her everything.
I'm sure you did, Mr. Gale. But the other amounts, you can't explain those. Please forgive this question, Mr. Gale. It must seem rather personal, but was Moira your daughter?
No, she wasn't. Well, not exactly. But we loved her as if she was our own.
I'm sure you did. Did she know she was adopted?
Oh, yes. The wife told her when she was about 10.
Did she know who her real parents were?
No. She was abandoned, just a few days old.
So really she was able to imagine anything she liked, even that she might be related to royalty?
Oh, that, yes, that was a sort of family joke. Wife used to call her our little princess when she was a toddler. I've forgotten.
But I don't think Moira had, Mr. Gale. I don't think it was a joke to her.
Yes, that's right. Check the hotel and all the names I gave you between the 23rd and 31st of March. 23rd and 31st of March. And make it quick. Thanks.
And did you also ask them to try the number the school secretary gave you?
Yes, sir. They'll put this Steve Leighton through here if they contact him.
Good.
It's got to be a long shot, sir. Guernsey in the same place at the same time.
But it would make sense. Bring the whole thing together. It would be the coincidence which links all the others. It doesn't strike me as impossible that Moira met someone in Guernsey who ties her in with Coriston.
But it could just as easily have been Reading. I mean, those two boys that were expelled, for instance. We know one of them lives in Pangbourne. That's not far from Reading.
I don't think so. You heard what Mr. Gale said. She didn't have a social life outside home.
With respect, sir, there was quite a lot that poor Mr. Gale didn't know about Moira.
I grant that.
For a start, he didn't know she was a thief. And not just from him, either. We know what Mr. Brandon said in the bookshop. It must have been her. They're checking it up in Reading, but I don't reckon there's any doubt.
Certainly it would explain the £50 deposit with the Building Society. That's what Brandon believed his missing first edition to be worth. But what about the £100 in July?
You think that was payment in advance, don't you? Money to set up Royston.
Looks very much like it. She seemed to fantasize that she was well connected. Royal blood, even. I think she was determined to improve herself. She had the imagination to play a part. She almost convinced me. And we know she wouldn't have been restrained by moral scruples if she could steal from her father.
So she looks the part and will do most things for money.
It fits. X, the unknown party, bribes Moira to fix Royston. It's highly probable that X is connected with Coriston and that Moira is just part of a vendetta which has hounded Royston all term. Ever since his marriage.
You now think the marriage is part of all this?
Or is that just another coincidence? How many of those incidents at Coriston were manufactured? And how many spontaneous? Ah, yes. Put him through, please. Steve Leighton. This might help us find out, Abbott. Hello. Thank you for calling, Mr. Leighton. I'm sorry to trouble you in the holidays. I'm investigating... Oh, you've seen the papers. Well, in that case... No, of course not, Mr. Leighton. But I do need your help about an earlier incident involving cannabis. No, I'm not concerned at this stage with that offense. But there is something I'd like you to tell me.
I just needed to get away. I stayed in a small hotel in Oxford. That's all,
And
Superintendent.
presumably they'd remember you at this small hotel.
I'm sure they would, if you
I
telephoned.
expect so, sir, yes. So what brought you back, Mrs. Royston?
I realized how much I miss Hugh, particularly when I heard the trouble he was in.
How did you know there was trouble? There's nothing in the papers at that stage.
Shopping in Oxford, I bumped into Helen Quarry. Pure coincidence.
Another one. But do go on. You met Mrs. Quarry, you say?
Yes, and she told me what had been happening.
And Mrs. Quarry was the only person you met in Oxford?
What do you mean?
I must put this to you. Did you perhaps also meet Moira Gale in Oxford?
No,
you knew your
Superintendent.
husband would be at the conference, the car he was driving.
This is absurd.
It's all right, Hugh. No, Superintendent, I did not meet Moira Gale. Then or on any other occasion.
Thank you, Mrs. Royston. And you can confirm that your husband left the house at about 11:45 this morning?
Yes.
And you think the phone call, the anonymous one, was about 9 o'clock?
Yes, about then. Hugh said it was a wrong number.
A pity.
I've explained to you. I can see now I was wrong, but I panicked. I thought if I went to meet her, I could sort everything out, find out who was behind it all.
What a pity you didn't contact us, sir. Moira might be alive now.
You think I haven't told myself that 100 times? I thought I could deal with it. I daren't risk more publicity. I didn't know if it was Moira on the phone. The voice was heavily disguised.
But the voice was female. You're sure of that?
I'm not sure of anything anymore. But yes, I think so.
And you thought if it were Moira or someone acting on her behalf, something useful might come out of the meeting?
At least I'd know what was behind it all. Then I would have been able to come to you. The last thing I expected was to be faced with Moira's body.
And you panicked again, you say. Just drove off.
I'm not completely stupid, although I begin to wonder now. I knew that if I was found there with the body, I could see there was nothing I could do for her. Well, perhaps to run away wasn't very rational, but I wasn't thinking clearly. As soon as Sergeant Court came here, I told him everything, just as I told you. I know how it must look, Superintendent.
That'll be my sergeant. Excuse me.
Sorry, darling.
Good. Come through then.
Yes, sir, it's all there. And the results of the post-mortem.
Thank you. I won't be long. I'll meet you at Mr. Quarry's house.
Right, sir.
Right, Mr. Royston. I shall have to ask...
I was expecting it. You would allow me to call my solicitor?
I don't think that will be necessary for the moment.
Oh?
I was going to say I shall have to ask you for your assurance that you will not be leaving Coriston without informing me.
Of course. Thank you, Superintendent. But does that mean...
Could I ask you just one final question?
Yes?
Have you ever been to Guernsey, Mr. Royston?
What a strange question.
And your answer?
Yes, I've been there once or twice.
But not at Easter this year?
No.
And you, Mrs. Royston? Have you ever been to Guernsey?
Never.
Perhaps you should get your husband to take you there. Would that be a good idea, Mr. Royston? Now, I must go and talk to Mr. and Mrs. Quarry.
Look, I don't
What
know
has Guernsey got to do with this, Superintendent?
Everything, Mrs. Royston. Everything.
It was pure coincidence. As I've explained to Sergeant Abbott, I was going into the supermarket as Sylvia was coming out. Exactly as she said.
And I've also given your sergeant details about Easter holiday, though what that's got to do with anything, I
Yes,
really...
Mrs. Quarry managed to get away for a few days to stay with friends, but Mr. Quarry...
I know everyone thinks teachers have long holidays to swan around.
I'm sure you worked very hard, Mr. Quarry. I mean, you're still here now, and we're well into the holidays.
Exactly.
And this morning, Mr. Quarry. Were you busy with school matters this morning?
There's no need to be subtle, Superintendent. It doesn't suit you.
Mr. Quarry said...
What do you mean, says?
That he went into Coriston for some shopping soon after breakfast and came back about 10 o'clock.
I see. And presumably Mrs. Quarry was here, so she can...
Well, not all of the time. It was such a lovely morning that I went for a long walk.
But you met people, I dare say.
Well, I'm not sure that I did. I kept well away from the roads.
Really?
Look, I appreciate that this is a very serious business and you have to ask your questions, but you can't for one moment think...
What can't I think?
No, it's all
Mr.
right,
Quarry?
John. I'm sorry, Superintendent, but this business has placed us all under a great strain.
I understand, Mrs. Quarry, and I hope we shall have it all cleared up very quickly now.
Oh, really? Look, I'm sorry I lost my temper. Can I ask, Superintendent, purely from the school's point of view, whether you will need to take Mr. Royston...
No. Mr. Royston can continue with his duties here, as far as I'm concerned.
Good. Oh, that's excellent. We were afraid that... Well, that really is good news.
I expect it is. Am I right, Mr. Quarry?
Indeed. And I've got more good news for him.
What's that?
You know about the pregnancy business.
The Hillmore girl, yes.
Well, I had a letter from the parents this morning. The girls told them everything. The father, some wretched cousin who stayed with them during the Easter holidays. They absolve us from all blame.
Even from leaving gin bottles lying about?
Well, that was hardly our fault, was it?
No, I suppose not. Anyway, that will be reassuring for Mr. Royston. Well, thank you for your time. I'm sorry to have kept you busy school teachers. Still, you have got another 6 weeks to recover. Excuse me, but this photograph, when was it taken?
That one? The beginning of term party. Hugh gave one to introduce us all to Sylvia. We all look so cheerful there, don't we?
Are all the staff on it?
Yes, I think so. You got us all to pose together. Stupid, really, but we'd all had a few drinks. I can't think why you've got it framed, Helen. We all looked...
We all looked so happy. It's a rare sight.
May I borrow it?
What on earth for?
Abbott will let you have a receipt.
Oh, take it. Keep the damn thing. As far as I'm concerned, it's not exactly an occasion, as it turned out, that any of us want to remember.
He was certainly surprised you weren't taking Royston in. So am I, as a matter of fact, sir.
But neither of you had seen the autopsy report.
How does that clear him?
Time of death. Moira's aunt says the girl left the house soon after 9, after a substantial breakfast.
I see. Stomach contents.
It helps them fix time of death pretty accurately. Moira had been dead a couple of hours when she was found. And Royston and Sylvia have alibis for each other.
Right. What else did they come up with?
No sign of a struggle, which suggests Moira knew who it was who strangled her. But if it's not expected, it's easily done. Hands around the throat, she was only a wisp of a thing. No great strength was necessary.
So it could have been a man or a woman?
Oh, no. I'm sure it was a woman.
Really? Why?
The whole business has the hallmark of the little green-eyed monster, jealousy, or bitter resentment. Resentment against Hugh Royston.
But there were plenty of men who resented him. John Quarry, the boys,
but the use of Moira, the poison pen note, the sexual element is very strong. This is sexual jealousy.
It could be hard to prove. Just a theory.
But now we have the evidence from Guernsey. I knew we'd find a connection.
But it just confuses things until we can get a proper identification. I suppose that's why you took the photograph?
Yes. But I'm pretty sure I know.
How could you be in 2 places at once and by herself?
What are you talking about, Abbott?
You told me the hotel in Guernsey recognised one name on the list we sent them. Or rather the same name, but not the same sex.
Correct. They had a guest staying there between those dates who signed in as Mrs. Royston. And she was known to them. Had been there on previous occasions.
But Sylvia Royston was on her honeymoon in France. I suppose Guernsey isn't too far away from France.
I see your confusion, Abbott. You're imagining it was our Mrs. Royston who was at the hotel.
Of course. You're telling me it wasn't? Then who was it? Not his mother, sir, I suppose?
No, not his mother, Abbott. Turn right at the next crossroads. I think that's what Miss Bell said. The lane should be on the left, almost immediately. She said we can take a car down.
When did you speak to her? She wasn't in the office when I was...
She arrived just as I was leaving to walk across to the quarries.
So she hadn't been in this morning. Not like our school secretary to be away from work, is it?
She told me she was packing up to move into this cottage.
And you believed her, sir?
Here's the lane coming up. We turn off.
I mean, it could be her. If your theory is right, she's jealous of Sylvia,
Yes,
right?
but I don't see her as Royston's mistress. There's no sexual motive, not with her. She's just protecting the school. And coincidence, I told you, it can never be discounted. But not a whole chapter of coincidence.
I'm not with you, sir.
Think about it, Abbott. Who suggested Mrs. Royston took the minibus?
But that was an accident, wasn't it?
Yes, but wishful thinking, possibly. And then the rumours. Somebody amplified those. And the same somebody, knowing poor Jane Hillmore's fondness for gin, gave her the opportunity to take more.
And what Steve Layton told you on the phone this morning...
Yes. He only told one person. And I don't doubt the same person wrote the anonymous note to Lord Penmerritt. Turn right at the barn. We're nearly there.
Sir, that car parked up ahead.
Stop. How long will it take the others to get here?
They'd have to round up a forensic team, a WPC. But I told them to step on it. Another 10 minutes, I reckon.
Right. Good. We'll walk the rest of the way. Nice summer's day, windows open. Voices might carry Abbott. Particularly if they're raised.
As soon as he asked about Guernsey and whether I'd been there this Easter, I began to see. It had to be you. I didn't want to think it, Paula.
How did you think I felt in that cosy hotel? Everyone calling me Mrs. Royston, remembering us from our previous visits. When's your husband coming?
You knew I wouldn't come. It was all over, I told you.
But I didn't believe it. Didn't want to believe it, I suppose. That you were just using me until you found some insipid little virgin who'd be better for your image. Always promising a wedding, weren't you? But it never materialized, did it? I should have realized I wasn't quite good enough for you. Not quite young enough. Not quite respectable enough. Yes, I should have known you were using me for just one thing.
Paula!
And the trouble you took to make sure your mucky little affair was our secret. God knows it was hard enough to keep it quiet in that bloody hothouse you run. When I think of Frances Bell poking her nose into your business, and John Quarry just waiting for you to slip up so that he could step into the job he always thought should be his. Well, he doesn't have to wait much longer, does he? You're finished, Hugh.
It was you, then. Everything that went wrong. You're evil, Paula. To destroy me, perhaps I can understand that, but Moira Gale, what had she done?
She was convenient. I came across the stupid little fool in Guernsey while I was waiting for you. Appropriate, wasn't it? She seemed at a loose end, too. A loner. She bored me to tears with her pathetic fantasies, her plans to better herself. But I knew she'd do anything for money. When I needed someone, I thought of her. I remembered she had an aunt near here. I knew about your silly conference in Oxford. It wasn't hard to fix. You see, she had a vivid imagination, Hugh. She still thought I was Mrs. Royston, and I told her you'd been playing about with other women, threatening our marriage. I wanted to get my own back and warn you off at the same time.
And she believed you?
She was only 15. I thought she'd swallow it. And there was the money, of course. But I misjudged her.
How?
She must have found out in the village about Sylvia, the real Mrs. Royston. So she telephoned, demanded more money, threatened to tell the police the truth.
And you killed her. Then tried to involve me. That was you, wasn't it, on the phone? The disguised voice? But it was a voice I knew. I couldn't place it at the time.
Yes, it was me. But who'll prove it, Hugh? Your word against mine. And who'll believe you? A child molester? A failed headmaster?
Good afternoon, Miss Danby. The front door was open, so we came in some time ago. It seemed a pity to interrupt your very lucid flow.
So it was all a trap. You brought the police with you. I should have expected that from you.
That's enough, Mr. Come on.
Not that it matters, Miss Danby, but Mr. Royston did not bring us. I would have come anyway. I've suspected you for some time.
How could you?
Too many coincidences. And the sexual jealousy. A woman roused and then scorned. There weren't too many candidates for that role at Coriston. You fitted the profile, Miss Danby. The right age, the right looks, the right temperament, and all the opportunities you needed to destroy the man who discarded you.
Theories, Superintendent. Just theories. Your eavesdropping won't help you. That's not evidence, and you know it.
There'll be no shortage of evidence. I imagine the staff at the Guernsey Hotel will recognize you from the photograph we'll send down the wire. And poor Moira. You can't strangle someone with your bare hands without leaving tissue traces, unique to you, Miss Danby. No, I don't believe we'll lack evidence. Abbott, in your experience, what does a murderer try to do after committing the crime?
To get away as far as possible, sir.
Was Australia going to be far enough, Miss Danby? In a few minutes, Miss Danby, you will be taken to Oxford and charged formally.
Superintendent, do I have to stay?
No. We'll take statements from you later.
Paula.
Get out! I don't need your sympathy. You'll never understand, Hugh, will you? I loved you, and you left me for a woman not fit to be near you, let alone be your wife. You did that to me. Just get out! Go!
Yes, please leave now, sir. Go back to your wife, Mr. Royston, and your school. There'll be a trial and a lot of bad publicity. But with luck, you might survive. You've certainly been more fortunate than poor little Moira Gale.
John Castle played Detective Superintendent Thorne, and John Sampson, Hugh Royston, in Mortal Term, which was dramatized for radio by Melville Jones, from the novel by John Penn. John Quarry, James Green, Helen Quarry, Penelope Lee, Mark Joyner, Stuart Organ, Frances Bell, Oriel Smith, Sylvia Royston, Victoria Carling, Paula, Elizabeth Mansfield, Steve, Jonathan Tafler. Pearson, Paul Downing, Geary, Stephen Garlick, Detective Sergeant Abbott, Andrew Branch, Sergeant Court, Ian Lindsay, Jane Hillmore and Moira Gale, Jane Whittenshaw, and Mr. Gale, David King. Mortal Term was directed by Martin Jenkins.